May I have your attention, please? I'd like to recognize Ms. Fowler.
If you'd like to, please join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we gather here today to make decisions that will impact many. Grant us the wisdom, patience, and understanding. Bless our students, teachers, and all those who shape young minds. Guide us and lead us so that we may be a light for others to see the love of Christ in our lives. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Fowler. We'll call the meeting to order, and if you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We have Mrs. McDowell online tonight. She'll be joining our meeting. And now for the chairman's report and the consent agenda. What we will be approving with the consent agenda is the approval of the agenda, the approval of the minutes for the special call meeting March 28th of 2024, the approval of the minutes for the board work session March 28th, 2024, the approval of the board meeting minutes for April the 8th, 2024, the approval of the minutes for the special call meeting April 22nd, 2024, approval of the minutes for the board work session that took place April 22nd, 2024, the approval of overnight field trips, and the approval of the check registry. So with that, do I have a motion that we approve our the consent agenda?
I make the motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Vanford. Have a motion. I have a second. Second, Ms. Baker. Thank you. Any discussion? Then all those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Thank you. That was unanimous. Our next item is the superintendent's report. Dr. Mark Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Rollins. Welcome, everyone. Glad you're here, and we're going to start Mr. Rollins' night with a celebration of students and staff. At this time, I'd like for Ms. Jody Wright to come forward and help Chairman Rollins and I present a couple awards to our students.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Thank you, school board, and everyone. The microphone working. Thanks, Test it now. Thank you. You could probably hear me without it, though. I'm just saying. The Honorable J. Mark Hayes II Law Essay Contest is sponsored by the Senior Division of the South Carolina Bar Association. The purpose of this contest is to promote a better understanding of the rule of law and civic responsibility in the South Carolina's youth. The contest is open to all 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students in South Carolina. In 2021, the contest was named in honor of Circuit Judge J. Mark Hayes II in recognition of his work with the contest since its inception. Tonight, we would like to recognize 2 students that participated in the contest. So first, we would like to recognize Yona Ray from Landrum High School. Principal Dr. Keegan Flynn, and her teacher is here, I believe, with her tonight, Miss Beth Henson. Yona's essay was named an Essay of Distinction. So we are excited about this recognition, and we commend you tonight. There we go.
Big round of applause. He's trying to hide. He's too big to hide. Look at that fellow. I need to stand up on something. Congratulations.
The 2024 overall winner of the entire essay contest was Zane Brooks, a 10th grader from Landrum High School, Principal Dr. Keegan Flynn, and teacher who is here tonight, Miss Lauren Baker.
Another big round of applause.
And as we continue with some wonderful recognitions tonight, SC Ready is a statewide assessment that includes tests in English language arts and mathematics. SC Ready is administered to all students in grades 3 through 8. Items on SC Ready are aligned with the South Carolina College and Career Ready standards. So we are recognizing 5 students tonight that earned the maximum scores on the math section of the SC Ready test. So beginning tonight at Campobello Grambling School, we have Jake Hammett. Also at Campobello Grambling School, we have Autumn Hurst. From Holly Springs Motlow Elementary, next up we have Ashton Chapman. Tonight, scoring the highest score at Mabry Middle School, but now at Chapman High School, we have Audrey Muse. And also at Mabry Middle School next, we have Jackson Stokes.
So just so y'all know, these are on last year's SC Ready. Give them a round of applause. So these are on last year's scores, of course. We just took the ones last week for next year, so we're praying for more perfect scores. So no pressure, kids. Thank y'all so much. But another big round of applause.
Yes. Congratulations again. Next, we recognize our teachers. We are really excited to have cohort-based learning. And cohort-based learning involves learning within a group. So like in the classroom, the teachers learned in a classroom together. And so this fabulous group of teachers learned math strategies, and we called it our math cohort that we had presented to you earlier. Under the leadership of Holly Switzer and a partnership with Teacher Created Materials, we consulted with a guided math consultant under the pedagogy of Lainey Salmons, who is a math guru when it comes to teaching math with our students. So through this guided math approach, teachers learn how to lead their students in standard-based, rigorous, and engaging rotational groups and stations in the classroom. This works well with our technology and works well with manipulatives. Teachers learned how to facilitate this learning with students through hands-on, scaffolded conversations, and intensive questioning techniques using the South Carolina state standards. So tonight we would like to recognize these teachers and their outstanding coach, Mrs. Holly Switzer. So tonight I'm going to start with Holly Switzer. She was our lead coach of the Spartanburg 1 math cohort. I also have a little pin. So I have a little pin for y'all as well. Thank you. We have about 12. Is that okay? Maybe come down this way or? Okay, sounds good. Next tonight, who could not be with us, but we will applaud her name, Miss Jessica Easler. And Mrs. Jenna Fowler. Miss Fowler is from Campobello Grambling. Mrs. Courtney Owens. These two fine teachers with us tonight are from Campobello Grambling School. Next, we will move to Holly Springs. Miss Lisa Jones could not be here with us tonight, but we will applaud her, please. Also from Holly Springs Motlow, we had Miss Kimberly Maccabee. From Inman Elementary School, we have Miss Tori Smith. Miss Kathleen Mosley cannot be with us tonight, but we will applaud her name tonight. From Landrum Middle School, we have Mr. James Festa. I don't think he could be here with us tonight. From Mabry Middle School, we have Miss Lisa Batson. Also from Mabry Middle School, we had Miss Marie Hollyfield. Mabry Middle School, Miss Crystal Martin. And Miss Shelley Walker. From New Prospect Elementary, we have Miss Kelsey Bush. And I mispronounced that, Miss Kelsey Book. I'm so sorry, I always mispronounce that. Next, we also have Miss Jennifer Collins, and she could not be with us tonight as well. May is a busy month. We also have Miss Jerica Deal, who is here with us tonight. And lastly, from O.P. Earl Elementary, we have Miss Heather Arledge. I think I might have given you the wrong certificate. I'm sorry about that. Did I switch it out? We got the schools mixed up. I did just in time. Thank you so much. Sorry about that. I had Kelsey down there for us. Miss Jennifer Collins from New Prospect Elementary School also could not be with us tonight. But we want to do a round of applause. Miss Jenna Pinkney, is she here tonight? Let's do a round of applause. And Miss Nicole Boble, is she here with us tonight? And that is it. And we are so, that is a lot of teachers. That was 18 that volunteered their time and their dedication. This was not a requirement and went above and beyond. So again, another round of applause for these fine ladies. Congratulations. So also tonight, last but not least, of course, we're very excited to have the Palmetto Council Boy Scouts of America to announce the selected 2024 Spartanburg 1 winner for the Elbert K. Fretwell Award. So at this time, I will turn it over to Maggie McMahon. I always said that wrong.
It's okay,
McMahon. I was going to say McMahon. McMahon. Y'all forgive me for that. She is the Development and Marketing Director. So thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. To my left is Anna Gilson. This is her second week on the job, so she is brand new, and I brought her with me, but she is our Development and Marketing Associate. This is our second year getting to be in Spartanburg School District 1 to award the Elbert K. Fretwell Outstanding Educator Award. And we are so appreciative that you've allowed us to come and award a deserving member of your amazing faculty that you have. The mission of the Boy Scouts of America is to prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetime by instilling in them in the values of the Scout Oath and Law. If you were here last year, you might remember we probably had a cute little Cub Scout who held up his fingers and recited the Scout Oath and Law. Monday nights are the same night that our Cub Scout packs and Scout troops meet in School District 1, and so they're not here tonight, but I'm going to recite it for you just so you know, because this is what we base our award off of and how we pick the winners. And so Anna, being new, does not quite have it memorized yet, so we'll give her some grace, but I'm going to recite it for you. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. And then the Scout Oath is just a list of characteristics that we live by in Scouts. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Throughout the Spartanburg School District 1, the council provides high-quality scouting programs to over 88 Cub Scouts and 32 Scouts BSA members. Over the past 5 years, our Eagle Scouts have done, I think, 3 or 4 service projects on your school campuses, saving y'all about $15,000 in the projects yourselves. And you'll learn more about that this summer. But Mr. Fretwell was a firm believer that outside of the school classroom, that special enrichment that came with scouting would help our scouts outside. And so he wanted our scouts, he understood that it was the teachers with the students each and every day that really embraced the Scout Oath and Law in their classrooms, because our Scoutmasters in the Palmetto Council, in any scouting council across the nation, only spend about an hour to 2 hours with our scouts a week. It's the teachers that bring the values of trustworthy, kindness, loyal, friendly, courteous, brave to them in the classroom through what they teach. And so to honor Mr. Fretwell after he passed away, the BSA started this award in 2016. And we did it for 1 year in the Palmetto Council, and then COVID took it away, and we started again last year. And we just found out 2 weeks ago that we are the only council on the entire East Coast to do this award. Any scouting council can do it, but we are the only one to do it. And so we do 15 of these a year, one for each school district. And so again, it's just an honor to be here this evening. I'm going to now call up our winner. If Miss Danielle Floyd would like to come up this evening. So we could just give her a round of applause. You were nominated by your principal. I don't know if you knew that or not. And I'm actually going to read part of the nomination that he wrote for you before we give you a medal and a certificate this evening. So he answered several questions that pertain to the Scout Oath and Law, and I've kind of taken them all together and made it into a paragraph. So Ms. Floyd is a dedicated special education teacher, and she plays a crucial role in preparing her students for life beyond high school. She goes above and beyond to help them develop skills that enable them to make ethical and moral choices. Her students are entrusted with responsibilities such as handling money and selling items to their peers, which not only prepares them for financial interactions, but also teaches them valuable skills. Her commitment to her students' success is evident in her approach. She recognizes that many of her students who may face challenges in finding employment after high school need additional support to become active contributors to society. Through her efforts, many students acquire the skills they need to succeed both during and after their time in her classroom, often finding employment within the community. Her impact is profound, as evidenced by her recognition as Teacher of the Year for Landham High School and Spartanburg 1. What sets Ms. Floyd apart is the genuine care she shows for her students and their families. She makes sure to build strong relationships with them, ensuring they feel supported and valued as individuals even after they graduate. Ms. Floyd continues to stay connected with her students, demonstrating her unwavering commitment to their long-term success. So congratulations for being our 2024 School District 1 Albert K. Fretwell Outstanding Educator. I'm going to ask if your principal would like to come up and drape this medal around your neck. Usually we let a scout do this, but since they're not there. And then we also have a certificate for you as well. Again, it's an honor for us to get to do this, and we'll be back again next year. We're going to keep doing it as long as BSA lets us be here, and y'all let us keep coming back. So congratulations. This is your case for your medal, and thank y'all again so much.
Thank you again, and thank you for this wonderful opportunity to recognize one of our outstanding teachers. Thank you, Dr. Smith.
All right, I'm going to keep going here because we have something else to celebrate. Give me just 1 second. Mr. Chairman, School Board, I wanted to share with you some great news that we received last week. And we'll further celebrate this more later, but it was too good not to share tonight. This is from the South Carolina Band Directors Association. So this is really good. Very proud. The South Carolina Band Directors Association's Outstanding Performance Award is the highest possible award given to a band program in the state of South Carolina. Points are accumulated through participation and ratings earned at the following state-sponsored performance events: marching band competition, all-state and region band, concert performance assessment, solo, and ensemble. So there's 4 categories. It's with great pleasure to inform you that Chapman High School has earned the points necessary to receive the SCBDA Outstanding Performance Award for the 23-24 school year. This is across all classifications. It's a big deal. The outstanding marching, concert, individual student performances are a testament to the high quality of teaching that takes place in the band department at Chapman High School. Congratulations on this wonderful achievement. So I would like to give Mr. Kevin Horton and the Chapman Band a big round of applause. And also, I received news today from Mr. Darby, the principal of Campobello Grambling, that CGS recently recertified as an ABC School of Distinction for being a leader in classroom arts integration. This ensures that CGS will have access to over $15,000 in funds and resources that continue arts integration at CGS. So also a major accomplishment, a school of distinction. So a round of applause for CGS. And before I turn the mic over, Mr. Chairman, I would like to get back with the board in my report about our Teacher of the Year Forum survey results. I know I was a little later this year. I apologize for that, but I have read 448 surveys out of 700. I thought there were less than last year, but I'm just getting older, and there were more. So we had 64% of our staff members, and this goes out to all staff. So that's teachers, support staff, everybody. It goes out to all support staff. So 64% of our people responded, which is excellent. So I would like to cover some information from that. You'll remember there's 3 questions, actually 5, 3 questions about the district, and then we asked them to rate 4. Question 4 was rate Kelly Services, and number 5 was rate how we did with discipline this year. Watch out if you ask a group of educators how you do with discipline, because they're going to tell you, which is why I love teachers and staff. They will tell you the truth. So let's go over some of the results. So question 1 was how to improve the educational experiences and opportunities here in Spartanburg 1. The first one, and this was over and over again, this was definitely the main one, reduce class sizes. That is a reoccurring theme in the survey. The second one that I took note of was increase teacher and administrative and staff pay. That was a reoccurring theme. Excuse me. Also, throughout the survey, provide more special ed services and expedite the referral and testing process. If you'll remember, that came up time and time again last year. We've made some headway because I didn't see it quite as much this year because we did add 1 school psychologist. And historically, we've only had 2 school psychologists. And just to update you on that, for a child to receive special services, there has to be a school psychologist to do the testing, and it takes some time with that. So we were able to add 1 in last year's budget, and as you'll see, and as you know, this year we're asking for 1 more. I think when we get to that number 4, we're going to see some drastic improvement in our referral process. So it did get better this year. It's just not where the staff wants it, and that's why we send this survey out. It's a benchmark on how we're doing. Is it quantitative data? No, I know it's not, but it is data nonetheless that helps us know where we should be spending our resources. So they still want us to work with special ed, although they noted it got better, but they still want to improve that. And isn't that great that our teachers are looking out for our most vulnerable kids, and they want these most vulnerable kids to get the services that they need at the earliest ages. So real proud for that feedback there. And the last one for question 1, and again, I've summarized this. I mean, out of 448, guys, you're welcome to read them as the board, but I'm summarizing. The last one was to update technology. And I think this was given out before that y'all voted for the technology refresh. So check, y'all got that one because y'all have already approved that. Question 2 is what is helpful or effective currently in District 1? So question 2, what is helpful or currently effective in District 1? They love the behavior support specialists y'all gave them in last year's budget. If I read it one time, I read it 100 times about how thankful they were for that extra measure of discipline added to the schools. We had some behavior specialists get individual shout-outs, which I thought was great because they really enjoyed these folks being a part of the school system. If you think back, I know Inman Intermediate has their own, and I think the rest of our schools share. I think that's correct. Isn't that, Dr. B? I think we've got one or has Chapman got their? Chapman has their own, but most of the schools are sharing. And as I saw in the surveys, that was another request to get one at each school. Because what we're doing, sharing, we're rotating Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at a school, and then Tuesday or Thursday at another one. But anyway, that was a big thank you to the board on that. The second thing that I noted, the discipline matrix, our behavior system was revised, and they were very pleased with that. Not that it was perfect, and I don't know if any discipline code will ever be perfect, but they did note that it was better and more fair for the students with consequences and more consistent and appropriate consequences. Because you got to keep in mind, our teachers, they want to give consequences, but we also want to restore the child and help the child. And that's also what the behavior specialists were doing, building relationships with these children. So that went over very well, and I thank the board for their investment there. They praised the arts program. I think y'all all know how blessed we are with our arts program. They praised a positive and supportive environment. I was real pleased to see that. They also loved the early dismissal days, the days where there were 3 days this year where the students were dismissed, 11, 11:30, 12, depending on elementary, middle, and high, and they got to do staff development, so that was a plus. They enjoyed the elimination of late stays. Last year, they were asked to stay multiple days late to get their teacher work days off, if you will, to trade out those hours. So I thought that was interesting. They knew that I was going to take care of that last year, but it's so stuck in some of them's craw that they wanted to bring that back just as though I know that they don't want to do the late stays no more. So teachers, if you're watching, I heard that loud and clear. You don't have to worry about that as long as I'm here. You won't be asked to stay late to make up any time, because I think we'd all agree, teachers and staff, they put in a lot of time outside of the classroom. That's what good teachers do and good staff members do. Another thing they loved was the free blue jean and tennis shoe day off, and I did bless them with that multiple times throughout the year. And I told them it had to be professional blue jeans now, look sharp. But you just don't know. That is a free way, a no cost. It's so cost effective. It costs us nothing, and it brings so much smiles for people to relax a little bit as they do their very difficult job. So that was good feedback. They enjoyed less after school meetings that take away from family. So that was seen time and time again. They appreciated our staff development plan this year was during the year. So my motto is always work smarter, not harder, because we've got moms and dads and husbands and wives on our staff, and after a full day, not very many want to sign up to stay till 5 o'clock to learn professional development. So Jody Wright and her team have figured out a way to do that during the school day. Excellent job by Jody and her team, because staff development is very important, and we're always going to make that a priority here, but you can work in ways, not saying we never stay after school, but it's very rare now, and the teachers and the staff appreciated that per their survey results. They also gave a shout out, and you can read it, I'm not lying. They said the district administration trusts teachers to use their professional judgment managing their classrooms, and they felt respected by district leadership. That was in the survey time and time again. And as I said, I'll be happy to give any board member a copy if they so request. And also, the last thing I noted in the multiple, all the ones I read, the mental health counseling. They praised the district's commitment to giving more access to mental health. We've partnered with Regenesis and Spartanburg Department of Mental Health. Our desire is no child be turned away from any mental health counseling. So that was received well, but I think that's also a place we can continue to grow as well. So question 3 was how to make D1 a better place. How to make D1 a better place to work. Do not make teacher assistants drive a bus. I'm telling you, that is there, and it's got steam coming off of it, and I feel it, and I want to be able to snap my fingers and not make our teacher assistants drive. I understand the burden that is. It is a priority of mine, but it's also a priority to pick up the students in the morning and take them home in the afternoon. Jeremy Martin, our transportation director, is working very hard. We had a great year in transportation. We did a great year. And we're going to get better. And we're going to get it to a point when teacher assistants can choose, because I'm all about a volunteer army. I do not like a conscripted army. I love volunteers. So I won't take money out of a teacher's assistant's pocket. But what I would love to be, there's several that don't want to drive, and I would love to get to that. We're getting closer. If you know any good bus drivers, send them our way. Starting pay is $19 an hour, baby. Come on, think about it. Think about it. It's not as bad as it sounds, okay? Our kids are great, and they really are. And, you know, we've got some very good bus drivers, and we've been able to add several full-time ones this year. We're just not quite to that magic number. Mr. Martin tells me we're about 3 or 4 full-time drivers away from being able to pull back, so we're not that far. So I'm not going to lie to our staff and say we're taking away it, because I'm not ready to yet, because we have to pick the children up. But I just want the board to know I have heard from our people loud and clear, and it is a priority. The next thing to make D1 a better place to work, provide more support for discipline issues, be more consistent from school to school with discipline. So still, and I'll get to discipline a little bit in the survey in a minute on question 5. Continue to focus on reducing class size. That is also start to finish throughout the document. Next, streamline the special ed testing and referral process, like I said earlier, and we are working on that. Improve our facilities. Our buildings have aged, and you know we've talked about that with our facility study. That one was more new this year than last year, so the staff, they're noting that our buildings are aging. Develop a more strict cell phone policy. That was start to finish, and that is, I've had Mr. Loso working with the principals. We'll unveil that next school year. So there will be a more firm, consistent cell phone policy. There's teachers throughout the district right now saying, praise God, because that is something that has been very difficult for teachers to instruct children while they're checking their Instagram and Twitter, now known as X, if you're not following the world right now, you know, so got to keep up with all that stuff. So we take these suggestions, and I've seen them, I've been passing them on to my staff. The last thing on this was communicate, and this is something I need to get better at, communicate with the entire D1 staff more effectively from a district office level. Make our goals more clear, and that's talking directly to me, and I love it. That's awesome. That is great feedback that they say they know what's going on in the school, but they might not know all what's going on up here. So great feedback for me, and I've talked with Jada some ideas that I have of how I can communicate better with our people. So question 4, that was the Kelly Services one. I knew I had it here somewhere. 76% rated Kelly Services as good, very good, or excellent. I'm going to say that one more time. 76% of our staff rated Kelly Services as good, very good, or excellent. Now, as I told y'all in the work session, I didn't say it was perfect. I got a lot of feedback because there was an other box, and Lord, in a survey, if you put an other box. But they're going to tell you. And they said some were not professionally dressed. They said some used some inappropriate words. And they said some just didn't have a clue. There's some really funny ones I can't share. ask me later. I would love to share them with you because I'm telling you, staff will tell it like it is. But Kelly Services overall was very successful. But Dr. Beeson and I already have a plan to work with Kelly Services for them to do, and you know, they're learning too. I mean, this was their first year with us, and they've been very receptive to our ideas. But we're going to pass on some training documents, aren't we, Dr. B, to Kelly Services? Something about no flip-flops and pajamas, and it'll have some things, you know, that you might laugh at. But you know, if you're laughing at it, then that means somebody did it. So we'll address that. So overall, Kelly Services, the staff wants to thank the school board because that was an investment. Because remember, for 3 years, what have they been doing? Covering class after class. And what have principals having to do? Find teachers. And I've been in that chair. It's hard to ask a teacher to give up a planning period. But sometimes you have to do it. And we were to that breaking point last year. Remember, last year, our fill rate was 62%. This year, we've been well above 90% for most of the year. They've totally changed our world in terms of filling sub positions. Well, now we took step A. Well, step B, we just going to get better at it. So it's a step in the right direction. And finally, number 5, the improvement of discipline measures. 66% agreed that it improved, okay? But now I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There was a lot of suggestions, again, in the other box. Some very poignant suggestions that we need to follow up on. And it comes down, I think, from school to school, making sure we're consistent with the discipline matrix. And that's my job as a superintendent. And that's why I evaluate all of my principals. And I've got great principals. I am so blessed to have 11 outstanding principals. But that's why I am their evaluator, so I can work on with them their process of getting better. Because I always want to be about continuous improvement. And I expect the board to hold me to that. I expect for y'all to hold me to be about continuous improvement in my professional growth. Am I going to be perfect? Absolutely not. But am I coachable? Absolutely. And I expect my principals to be coachable, and they are. So we're learning in that area, but 66% of our staff believe we're headed in the right direction. Now, I want to get more next year. I want to get more staff on board next year. But discipline's hard. Discipline's tough. And y'all know times are changing, and a lot of this now, it has, our students, we love them dearly, but it is challenging with discipline. But we've got very supportive parents, and let me give our parents a shout out. So supportive of our parents that live in this community, that support the school principal and the teachers and the superintendent. I'm just so grateful for them because they've been so kind to us as we've tightened up this year. We tightened up. And our community supported it. So I want to say thank you to parents and guardians at home, because where does discipline start? At the home. And our parents, and hear this very clearly, are doing a very, very good job. And I don't think we praise our parents enough. They're doing a great job. It ain't easy. I got 4 of them. It ain't easy raising children in these days, okay? But our parents are doing a great job, and I'm very appreciative of that. Finally, for me, Chairman Rollins, this data will help us make decisions moving forward for next school year. Like I said, we've already got a cell phone policy in the works, and we're already looking at various things to address these concerns. I know that went over a little over, but I think it's sometimes good to update you all on where we are, and I definitely needed to update you on that survey. And again, I apologize for not doing that sooner. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Those were some great awards, very honored rewards. And we do appreciate your report. The survey sounds very successful, and we can build on it.
We are very blessed. Thank you, Mark.
And next, we have public participation. And for the speakers, I must read, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak. Please keep all comments relative to the topic or topics indicated on your request form. You may offer objective comments on school operations and programs that concern you. However, the board will not permit in public session any expression of personal complaints about school personnel or against any person connected with the district. And so with that, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Sproul DeBrose for public comments.
move this.
I think we have, time. Okay. Dr. Mathis, when you're ready, would you just let us know?
Okay. Today, I want to talk about the Board of Trustees' budget responsibilities, the need for fiscal transparency, the millage increases that were requested to be added by the board to the second reading of the budget. When elected, school board members commit to being very knowledgeable of school finances, budgets, and examples of this are understanding of the types of debt, their current status, how the finite revenue sources are calculated by the state and the county, and what laws and rules apply to maximum levels of revenue. After attending the first budget meeting, I'm unclear about the budget priorities of both the board and the administration and how they relate to the various other presentations they've had. For example, the school improvement plan, the capital budget, the completed facilities study, the repairs, and there's a whole list of concerns. With the federal and state and local economies, taxpayers are currently facing major rising costs. There's bank failures, there's layoffs, there's squeezing of household budgets by everyone, including people with fixed income. The potential 12+ mil increase the board is considering tonight in the D1 second reading of the new budget would add a further burden to the taxpayers of this district. So no reports of the actual year-to-date revenue or spending or the current fiscal year are posted on the website. No budget information in how good we were with last year's budget, where we went over, how we spent it, how we're going to spend it next year. It only showed estimated amounts of all of that, if you look through the documents. And it doesn't even have her projected June 30th fiscal year end expenditures, which is usually, except for the last 2 years, in the budget documents. So there's no real details on what's gone up, what's gone down, what you changed, what you moved from one line to the next line. Any of that's missing. The current proposed budget operating is 62 million with a 37% increase in 4 years. A 12 mil increase would push that higher. The fund balance stands at 18.5 million, and there's no discussion about what's happening with that 18.5 million. The board is responsible to the taxpayers. Transparency in spending helps earn support for those who fund the district's high goals for student achievement. To that end, information on the board's final budget choices must be completely and clearly posted on the website for any taxpayer to view before the public hearing on June the 10th. The 100+ page document you all received with a narrative, the year-to-date spending, the against budgeted, whatever relevant notes you could find in it, addendums, should be readily available to any taxpayer. Include the actual total amount of mills and a detailed breakdown for the use of the millage. A citizen should not have to file a FOIA request, hunt down a board member, make calls to the school to actually get that information. It is your responsibility to the taxpayers. That's who hired you. That's who you're acting on behalf of. So we have expectations for the reasonable expenditures of the budget. So we don't want you to buy Cadillacs. We want you to educate the children.
Thank you,
don't wanna all go
Mr. Brose.
bankrupt.
Your time is
Okay.
up. I wanted to let you finish your thought on that.
All right,
But,
so
it's-
I would request that the board actually post those documents on your website in a place that's easily available to anyone who wants to go and look at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Our next item is the instructional report. Mrs. Jody Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, School Board, and Dr. Smith. I will pull up my presentation. Tonight, we just want to take a glance at our data for grades 3 through 8. And we're going to look at the formative assessment that we use as our guide for our summative assessment. So I'm going to kind of talk through a few points tonight as we kind of look at the screen here. Well, one of the things I want to mention is our summative assessment in grades 3 through 8, as you heard tonight, is SC Ready. And as you know, we had some maximum scores in math for that, so that was a big celebration for us. But the goal of a summative assessment is to evaluate student learning at the end of a semester or an entire year. It kind of is your summary. And so summative assessments do have high stakes. They have high point value with SC Ready has that with our report card system. And it's our 3 through 8 summative assessment that is a standards-based assessment. Kind of goes over what we've went over all year long in our classrooms. So one of the things that resources that I kind of put out for us tonight is I went to the website for the public. So anyone here tonight is welcome to, and if you just want to click on that website for just a second, Ms. Tessner, I'd appreciate it. This is a website that you can see this information of where I pulled the data for the summative assessment. It's very transparent. So when you go on this, I just wanted to talk about the website for just a minute. You can select our school district or any school district in the whole state. So you can choose a district, and you can go straight to view district scores and look at us as a district, and it'll go on down. So you're going to see tonight that I pulled it straight from here, or you can also, when you go to the website, you can select a specific school. And that's for the public, so that if you wanted to look at that at any time, we can do that. But back to the slideshow. As we look at the slideshow tonight, I kind of took some things from that public site, okay? And so it's straight off of there. So as we look at our SC Ready review, this is not from this SC Ready. Those are not in yet. We just took them last week. But this is from last year. So I kind of wanted to piggyback off of what we talked about with a strategic plan and kind of talk about what our data looked like in a summary in our summative assessment for SC Ready last year. So I'm just going to kind of, I know you can read, but I'm going to kind of read it off so we all can hear. And like I said, this is straight off of that public site. But for grade 3, as you look, when we look at Spartanburg 1, approaches, meets, or exceeds expectations. So that means that the student is approaching that standard, they're meeting that standard, or they're exceeding that standard. They're not failing. Okay, so that's kind of what that is defined as. And as you can see there for Spartanburg 1, that number is 77.3%. As you look to the right of that, I wanted you to see some comparative data to the state. As you look at that same category with the state approaches, meets, or exceeds, you'll see that we are above the state average with our failing students. Many times in a strategic plan, when we presented that to you guys, we really start with who is not on that target, who we really need to work with, the students that aren't meeting that. And so I hope these numbers kind of make us feel more at ease tonight as we look at who is actually approaching, meeting, or exceeding grade level, and that we stay above that state average for the most part. This is ELA. 4th grade, this is the only area last year that we had where we dipped just a little bit in, as you could see, with state average comparison. Okay, and sometimes we do have that. It can be, I mean, we can extrapolate data, look at it, and see if it's our students, or what happened in that grade level. Do we get a lot of new students and influx? We just we determine that, and we also buy new resources. That's where we allocate and spend a lot of our money for the curriculum department. But that was our one area. But as we continue and we look at 5th grade, so you can see the numbers there. We're over the state. I don't have to read you the percentages, but they're great to celebrate. I mean, we are in the 80 percentile there, and the state is still staying kind of closer to the 70th. You can look at 6th grade as well, and you can see that we're still above 7th and 8th for ELA. Okay, and then we're going to look at math, and this is kind of showing the same trend. This is looking straight from that website. This is the SC Ready from last spring that we took, and this helps drive a lot of our decisions that we did this year, and kind of knowing and giving us our pulse check. You'll see that we're still looking at the categories of of Spartanburg 1 approaches, state approaches, meets, state meets over to the right, and exceeds expectations. So that's the language that the summative assessment uses. It uses the does not meet, the approaches, the meet, and the exceeds expectations. I did not include the does not meet because that was more of where we set our goals with our strategic plan. Because when you're not meeting, that's where you're strategic about, like your needs. That's kind of where it is. And we do add the approaches category a lot to especially our interventionist and all of that. That helps us kind of plan how many we need and where the support is needed, especially in the reading and in the ELA. Okay? So as we look at SC Ready, I've already kind of talked about this a little bit, where we focused on the approaches category, the meets category, and the exceeds category. We primarily look at that does not meet category, and at times, like I just mentioned, the approaches category to strategically set goals over those 5 years, because our goal is to decrease the does not meet category so that we can move all students to meeting expectations, because that's what we ultimately want. But Spartanburg 1 does value where each child is in each category. If they're just met, we're wanting them to get to exceeding. I mean, we are pushing all of our students. But when we set forth a strategic plan going to the state, that's where we show that we are really going to put a lot of our allocations towards it. That means our staffing and our professional development. So these are further expanded, all of these areas according to which school it is in the school renewal plans. I kind of did a district overview for you tonight. For the state report card, when we move students out of one category and into a higher category, that's where we get our points. So it's kind of as simple as that. If we're approaches and we're going to move a child to meets, then that's where we're going to show that growth model that the state talks about so much, that is so important. And that's what we preach to our principals preach, and our teachers really work for it, is wherever the student is, we're going to meet them for that growth piece. So speaking of growth, the growth assessment that we use to look at growth, and that's all we talk about with this assessment, is the state requires us, on top of iReady, to take it as your summative or your summary at the end of the year. The state requires us to do a formative assessment 3 times a year in grades 1 through 8. But kindergarten, they just kind of added as well, just for ELA. We don't have to test kindergartners in math, because it's a lot to keep testing kindergartners. They're babies. But we do use the data from ELA a lot to help them see where they are at. But the formative assessment, the goal of it is to monitor student learning, to provide that ongoing feedback that can be used by, the instructors, the classroom teachers, to improve their teaching, and by students to improve their learning. So more specifically, formative assessments help students identify their strengths and their weaknesses and target areas that need that extra work. It helps the interventionist, it helps classroom teacher. We have STARS meetings at the elementary level that really help push our students and look at where they are. So the iReady that we use, there's a list on the South Carolina Department of Ed website of the approved formative assessments, and we used to use MAP. It's still approved. We moved to iReady during COVID because it has a pathway. The students, once they get their target or their goal or their score, and then once they get that, they can practice a pathway that'll help them achieve and grow. So with the iReady diagnostic assessment, it is nationally normed and it's adaptive. It adapts to the student. And it determines the initial skill levels, and it gives them that personalized path that I just mentioned. It provides kind of a general assessment of student achievement levels, but mainly just looking at how fast and how quick they can grow. And it even breaks it down into different language that helps the teachers a lot. So I wanted to show you tonight what our end of the year iReady data looks like for 2024. So as we look at it, I used the same verbiage. Now, this is not on the website, On the website is the South Carolina SC Ready, South Carolina test. This is our formative test that's in-house. So this is not on a public website about this performance, because it's not meant to be a final destination. It's meant to be a growth model for students. So as we look at it, iReady Spring, this means they just took it in the spring. This was taken in the month of April. So we use the same terms. If we look at the students that are exemplary, met, and kind of approaches, which is a different terminology though in iReady, but we kind of converted it there, working with the consultants there. You'll see our third grade was at 85%. And you'll see that iReady is not only nationally normed, but it can give us a state score of where the state is this time. And that's just those that use iReady. Now, there's others in the state that use MAP and STAR and some different pieces. But we don't all use the same formative assessment, but this kind of gives us a target of how we're doing. This helps us monitor and look at that final push until we get this data in April, and it gives us that final push till May, kind of to see, okay, where are we at? Where is this growth model? So as you look at the charts, you can see the different numbers there tonight. As we look at 85%, and you just kind of going down the left column, you'll see Spartanburg 1 is doing exceptionally well. I didn't grab my laptop to see real well, but I'll step back for just a minute. 85% with Spartanburg 1, and with the state, 78%, according to what iReady gave us. Fourth grade, 83%, and the state showing 79%, and this is in reading. Fifth grade, 75%, 68% in the state, and then 74, 61 for sixth, for seventh, 69, 57, and for eighth, 68, 57% there. As we look and move to math, we use the same verbiage again, and with that exemplary met and approaches, and compared to what they gave us that the state was doing, and you'll see there 95 to 85, 89 to 81, 90 to 77. That was really significant. Sixth grade, eighth grade, sixth grade through eighth grade, you'll see 85% to 73%, 80% to 63%, and 70% to 59%. And that, of course, is showing who is kind of approaching that growth model of MET and exemplary as well. All right. And so just to kind of conclude, I wanted everyone to see that we did just finish SC Ready. As mentioned, this kind of shows that we did a field test in our writing. When, we also had our writing on May 2nd, and then reading, math, and science there. And then our makeup test we have tomorrow and Wednesday still for some makeup testing. So that's kind of wrapping it up, and I look forward to sharing with you more results later on. Just kind of wanted to piggyback off of what we had talked about with our strategic plan, but look at, you know, the other end of it, like how well other students are achieving and how well we are doing compared to the state. Yes, ma'am.
So the left-hand column of Spartanburg 1, is that, those numbers, are those the nationally normed numbers, or those are just with the state?
So those numbers, that's a great question. So there's two areas. One is nationally normed, but that is not the one that I showed you. The one that I showed you is their growth that they have done throughout the year, the percentage of those that are meeting their growth. So it's not exactly the same thing as for SC Ready. So there's different reports that we can look at. We can compare ourselves nationally, but I just did the growth compared to the state growth at this rate of one school year.
But Debbie, that shows what the teacher's done with that child.
Yes.
Which is very important, because, you know, teachers get children all over the place skill level wise, but that's a very important statistic, because it's showing what the teacher is doing in that classroom.
Now, this is a major celebration for the teachers. We appreciate see some few faces out here tonight. We do. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'd also like to say that it speaks well of our district office instructional leaders, our principals, in monitoring the classroom, the teacher activity, their lesson plans, the accomplishments of students, and to be on top statewide in almost all categories speaks very loud volumes to not only instruction, but how we are utilizing our funds for students first.
Yes, sir.
That's what I feel.
Thank you so
wanted to
much.
share that, and thank you all,
Thank you.
and all of you who are here, and how parents are evidently helping that child at home, because they can't achieve their maximum with just what they receive at school. They have to be reinforced at home.
Yes, sir.
So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chairman, and all school board members, and Dr. Smith. Thank you. I'm going to
Thank
turn
you.
it over. Okay.
Thank you for that report and all the work that went in to make that report happen.
Yes, yes, sir. Do me introduce her. I didn't know. I was waiting to see. Sorry about that. This is Dr. Amber Pitts. She's done a fabulous job this year with our STARDEP program for 4K. I'm going to turn it over to her.
And I didn't bring my laptop either, but I brought my phone because I cannot see good far away, so I'm going to have the same problem. I just want to take a few minutes to say thank you guys so much for allowing us to make the switch to STARDEP this year, which allowed us to work with our 4K students all day. So they get to be in the building all day, they get to eat in the cafeteria, they get to see what it's like at early arrival and dismissal, so they're really getting ready for K-5 next year. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the data from our academic growth, but I also want to celebrate just the social, emotional growth that they've had to have us in the building to learn how to walk in line. Shout out to Mr. Hodge, who has 4 4K classrooms in his building. Next year there will be 5 where everybody else has 1. Doesn't sound like a lot, but Officer Harmon can testify. Come in August. It's a fun time, but we have made a lot of growth and progress since that date in August, and we're excited for what this upcoming school year holds. So just wanted to take a minute to share. Campbell Grambling is not officially funded as a STARDEP program, but we are keeping the K-4 there and holding them to some of the same requirements of trying to meet those kids who need it the most to enroll them first. But they had 20 students this year. Holly Springs started with 20. We had about 70 at Inman, 19 at New Prospect, and 20 at OP Earl. 20 as our max because, as you'll see in just a minute, we always have to have that 1-to-10 ratio. That's STARDEP guidelines. We used that early release day where the students went home early to screen, because we have to give each of our new 4K kids the dial screener, see where they fall in motor, language, and concepts. And those that perform below the 25th percentile in 2 of the 3 areas are considered high academic need. And so they automatically qualify for our program because we know they need that full day program to get ready for school. So on those screening dates, we're already full at Campbell Grambling with their max. We've screened 23 students there. We're already full at Holly Springs. We screened 22 students there. Inman, we had screened 52 at the time that I've done this. We're now up to 60 because I did 5 more last week. New Prospect, they are full. We've screened 22. OP Earl at the time was 16. They now have 19. Just within a week's time, we've increased that. And we've had 3 screenings throughout the school year. Last year, I called Jody on registration day. I'm like, we've got 18 that have shown up at Inman Elementary. What are we going to do? So I know that we will have some more coming out in August, and we're excited to fill our spots and get as many as we can in. But just want to, those of you that are watching, keep an eye out in March. That's when we start that enrollment. So we'll know kind of who we're working with, and we can get those acceptance letters out by the end of the school year. That's our goal. So just a few quick facts about our STARDEP program. We are full day. They have to stay 6.5 hours to receive the funding. Students qualify based on academic, which is the 2 out of the 3 areas below the 25th percentile, and financial needs. So we do ask if your child is on Medicaid or to provide tax or paycheck stubs, because that is a requirement from the State Department to receive that funding. We get $5,100 per student that qualifies. Ms. Brady has done a great job of taking that and turning it around and paying for a lot of our teacher salaries in K-4. There is also a $10,000 startup fee that the teachers got this year so that they can get up to speed with STARDEP regulations. So we were able to buy furniture, we got the listening centers that they needed, and none of that came out of our district budget. We were able to do that with funding from the state since we are STARDEP. So just want to add that in there since we were talking about budget earlier. They do pull that from the 135th day report. We have 9 K-4 teachers and 9 teacher assistants from Spartanburg 1 that are ours. In the past, when we had some great work with Head Start, we love what they did, but they weren't our teachers. We couldn't pull them in for professional development. We couldn't go into their classrooms and ask, the same kind of questions. But these are our homegrown folks that we have our hands on, and we do professional development specifically targeted to them. Just want to give a huge shout out to them. They've done some amazing work this year. Change was hard. But we've learned a lot, and we're going to grow from that next year. So a shout out to them. So now I'll talk a little bit about the data. We do an assessment called My IGDs. It's our first year doing it. So we do it in the fall within the first 45 days. Winter is optional, and then we do it within the last 45 days. So at the time that we did this, we still had 2 tasks that were left to complete. So it's almost complete data, but we're just missing a few little sub-tests. So if you want to go ahead and click. The first one is called picture naming. So the students look at a picture and they have to name what they see. The top graph is in the fall and the bottom graph is in the spring. So their language is a little bit different from what Ms. Wright just talked about with SC Ready. If you're in the green, that means you're making strong progress. Like you're doing amazing. We don't really have to worry about you. You're on track. You're going to do great. If you're in the orangish gold color, you've met the cut score. You've made moderate progress. You're right where you need to be. The red, you're at tier 2 or tier 3, you're at risk, meaning you need some extra support. So if you can look, when we started out in the fall, you can see that red bar is very, very big. But now in the spring, we have really added a lot more kids to the green, and we've moved some of those red up to the cut score. So we've worked really hard on that picture naming task. The next task is rhyming, which is really difficult. You have to, it's tricky. If you think about kids who haven't been anywhere before, or if they have a lot of low language children, rhyming is hard. So you can see in the fall there again, look at our red bar. We had 79 kids that were at risk in the fall. And then in the spring, we're leaving with 44 at risk. But we had 24 in the green in the fall. Now we've got 46. We've almost doubled that number of kids that are considered making strong progress. The next little subtask is sound ID. So you give them the sound, they have to find the letter that makes that sound, and these are 4-year-olds. So we've got our name down pat, but now we're measuring on some other things deeper in literacy. So as you can see at the beginning of the year, we only had 13 kids that were, right where they needed to be. But we had 78 that were in the red, considered at risk. We've lowered that number to 43, and we now have 48 in the green, considered to be making strong progress, which means they're kind of above where they need to be and ready to start kindergarten next year. The last assessment kind of reminds me of Sesame Street, like which one doesn't belong. So they give you a picture of like a boat. You might have a boat, you might have a lighthouse, and then you might have a cloud. So you would say the two that are associated with water belong and the cloud doesn't match. So that's kind of what that task is. And that's a little bit difficult. That's some critical thinking skills there. But as you can see, we had 63 in the red in the fall, and we've lowered that number down to 23 that are still considered at risk. So we've made some good progress with that as well. And I just wanted to close with giving you my phone number and email, anything you need. Anytime you want to come and volunteer, read to our 4K friends, you want to come practice some rhyming skills, come play with us on the playground, we would love to have you visit. It's exciting and it's challenging. But I leave every day feeling like we've truly made a difference in getting these kids ready for school, and I'm excited to see in the long term how this program helps us in District 1. So thank you for your time and for all the things you do for the CERDEP program here in District 1.
I want to thank you, Dr. Pitts, because this was new. We've never done this before. So it was a leap of faith. So I got this job in October. I started in February, and Jody and Amber came to me and said, hey, by the way, we got this new initiative we want to go for. So, I never thought I was a gambling man, but I thought, well, if it's going to help kids, count me in. And this has been the greatest blessing. We've been able to serve 149 of our most needy and at-risk kids in our program all day. And our kindergarten teachers are going to see the difference next year. This will be an immediate, the staff will see an immediate improvement. And then think for the years to come, the benefits, because when you start children and help them early, they're going to be right for years to come, because all the research shows, obviously, you teach children how to read and write, add, subtract earlier, they're going to do it better. instead of waiting later. So very proud of you and your staff. Would like to thank you. Would like to thank Mr. Hodge because he did have the majority of them, and he's a go-getter. And you know, he said, "Yeah, I'll roll with it." But I do appreciate the investment, and it is more than a financial investment.
Yeah.
It is such an investment in getting these children started off right. I remember we had an early meeting to talk about potty training, and
We've
that
had
was a
many
real.
conferences with parents about that.
And I think the board needs to hear that because that might not be something necessarily you would associate with 4-year-olds, but that's where we are, and that's okay. There's no shame in that. But we were able to assist with our teachers and our nurses and our assistants, helping these children. So it's a really big deal, not just academically but socially, and making sure children can assimilate into the school system and not just do well and do okay, but thrive. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Smith, Mr. Chairman. I was impressed with the results and the improvement, but what I wanted to ask you, if you had to evaluate it overall, did the students enjoy, at this young age, something totally new? Were they enjoying the learning process, and was it like they were playing and not aware that they were learning?
Oh yes. We that is a purposeful play is what we call that. We believe in learning through the play and that social piece.
That's a good foundation.
Where they
there
just
to
get a chance to
start.
learn from one another. Shout out to Miss LaShane Goins too in the SPED department. Students who receive speech and language services are considered SPED students. So shout out to them because we were able to get a lot of our 4-year-olds served in speech this year, qualified for that, so that they can better communicate and understand one another. And I think that'll pay off in the long run as well. But oh yes, purposeful play. That is the way we go in K4.
Yeah, when we have these summative reports, it brings all of the questions or the gaps that you were not able to provide us through the year because they're a work in progress, just like the budget and everything else and facilities. There's going to be blank spots, but it sure is fulfilling at the end of the year to see that kind of improvement, whether the graph the bar is going to the right or it's the red one's going back to the left. And it was consistent, and again, hats off and great work. We were
Thank
able to
you.
visit the classroom at Inman Elementary.
Yeah, I think you guys came for the board luncheon that day. Got to
Yes,
come down and
That
visit.
was outstanding, and they were happy as bugs.
They are. We do lots of dancing and singing. So
they really
like I said,
were.
anytime you want to come on down. We'll be happy to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you both again for those reports. Our next item is personnel report. Dr. Beeson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Smith, board members. My report tonight, as usual, is in 3 sections. Per your personnel report that was in your packets, I would like to recommend that the board accept the retirements effective at the end of the 23-24 school year.
Thank you, Dr. Beeson. We have that recommendation before the board. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the retirements for the 23-24 school year.
Thank you, Ms. Fowler. We have the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Hopper. Any discussion? Please signify the approval by raising your right hand. Any opposition? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to recommend that the board accept the resignations that were in your board packet effective at the end of the 23-24 school year.
Again, thank you, Dr. Beeson. We have the recommendation.
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. We have the motion.
I'll second that.
Second, Ms. Fowler. Thank you. If not, all those in favor please signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition? No, it's unanimous.
And finally, I would like to recommend that you approve employment for the 24-25 school year that was included in your board packet.
Thank you, Dr. Beeson. Again, we have a recommendation before us to approve the new hires for the coming year.
I make a motion that we accept the new hires.
Thank you, Ms. Hopper. We have a motion.
I'll second it.
Second, Mr. Skinner. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Nope, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Beeson. Next, we have our finance report. Ms. Lacey Brady.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening. I'm going to start by passing out this. It was in your board packet, but I thought it might be good if y'all just have a printed copy, and you can slide this in your notebook. And just so you're aware, there's a tab special for that, tab 11, that's in your book. You know, there's a place for it if you wanted to slide it in. I'm going to start actually, if it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and knock out the capital budget. Mr. McCraw was not able to be here with us this evening, so he asked me to kind of just go over the changes in his budget. This was included in your board packet, and he explained to me that the only changes were the things in yellow. So I'm going to just kind of go through those, and then I'll try to answer any questions you may have, but whatever I can't answer, I will take back to Mr. McCraw, and he will certainly get an answer for you. So on the first page of that, there's one change. He's got a note on here, the playground mulch for all schools. His note says that the rubber mulch is much better with new installs, but it's extremely expensive. He said that most districts are choosing turf in lieu of rubber mulch, and turf would be tough in some of our schools. So any more questions about the rubber mulch, you'll have to. Oh, go ahead.
This reflects the rubber mulch cost?
Right,
Is
though,
this-
this just reflects the, this is just turf.
So he's changed the mulch and the installation of mulch to
It's just, it's
turf?
not the rubber, it's just the turf, or, let's see. I'm gonna assume, based on his note, that is not the rubber mulch.
Okay.
Yes, the artificial turf. Yeah, correct. You knew what I was talking about, or you knew what he was talking about. Thank you. And then, under academic arts, all he did here was add just new instrument purchases and current instrument repairs. I believe before he may have just had just instrument repairs, but this set aside is actually for new instrument purchases and current instrument repairs. Also, under technology, yes.
Ms. Brady, I can't find where you are, but how much was that for instrument repair?
We set aside $40,000 to purchase new instruments and prepare. It's not gonna get us that far.
It's not. I can tell you, it's 36 years as a band director. It may buy 7 instruments.
Right.
They're extremely expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you can get reconditioned instruments, and make better use of your money.
Right. Well,
That's like
that's
a
good point.
car. You know,
Oh.
you don't always know what you get in a used one, but
Absolutely.
you know the reputation of who you're buying from.
Sure.
So,
Well, Ms. Center will be working with our fine arts people, and I think right now what we're really trying to do is we're also trying to get an idea of what we need.
Right.
you're right. Sometimes it's better to find, purchase the repurposed instruments, which
And
is,
based on numbers of enrollment.
sure.
Mhm.
Yes, sir. The other change on here was under technology. This is new, so there is a set aside of $50,000 for physical assessment servers per school. And during our testing, we realized that we needed more servers so that the testing could go smoothly. So we have now added this to the capital plan, so we'll buy 10 servers, one for each school. Nope, it's an addition. So yeah, and I apologize. We should have given you a, we should have printed this out as well. So in addition to the $180,000, he's added $50,000 in small servers. One will go to each school. That will help with the testing.
Ms. Brady, this is included on
Yes,
what
it
I'm
is.
looking at here. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, we had an issue with testing on day one with the writing test with SE Ready. So Casey Atkins, in all his brilliance, was able to get some old servers that he had held on to for that very reason. But we don't want to do that dance anymore with state testing. So that's why Jason made that addition with the capital, because our servers, we did not have enough, and I'm getting out of pocket here, but we didn't have enough bandwidth to run them. Because apparently the institution that makes the test added some things and didn't tell anybody about with the computer part of it. So that's why we needed that addition.
Okay, and then next, under the DO, there was a section regarding maintenance barn updates for, I'm not sure what he had in there before, but he's got $115,000 set aside here. And his note says that he is still working with multiple contractors to determine a better estimate. So hopefully we can get a better estimate on that, and we'll update accordingly once we get some more numbers.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Brady, do
Yes,
you
sir.
happen to know the dimensions of that building? And for those that may not be aware of that, how that building will be utilized by the district?
It's about, Gene, that's a very good question. It's about the same size as the Red Barn that we have out there. I don't have the square footage on that, but they needed this for additional, like we still park outside multiple lawnmowers and we lock them up in a gate. It's just a whole lot. This area will be used for, folks can't see it, and it'll be locked inside. But I know we're parking 2 trucks with equipment.
And protected?
Yes,
Protected.
this is to help protect it, but
From elements
it's
and
about the
theft.
same, yes, sir, with the elements, but it's about the same size as the Red Barn that's currently out there. But again, I don't know the square footage. If I had to guess, I'm guessing between 1,500 and 2,000 square feet. They're not massive, but they're big enough to store stuff.
And this has been on the side table for a while?
Yes.
And we really need that.
This Coach Skinner, that came with when we bought the property, correct? So the building material was, I guess, part of the purchase. This was before my time, so help me if I'm all part of the deal. And then Jason is now working, because we just don't have the manpower to install it, to erect it. So that's why he's meeting with people to get a contractor.
Next, under Chapman High School, he has added a line for scoreboard upgrades. That cost is about $12,500. And this is the main gym scoreboard at Chapman High School. It's an enhancement for players at court level and shot clock upgrade.
He's got it in there later for Landrum as well. The high school league is changing the rules to where there's a shot clock in basketball. And currently, our shot clocks at both schools do not operate. They were installed years ago, but I mean, the rules have just now changed to where next year, non-region play, you can run a shot clock. But the goal is with the coaches, and this is statewide, is to get to where basketball has a shot clock. So that's the step taken to help meet that. But that is at both schools. He's just got in there later for Landrum.
Okay. All right, and then next, under IIS, we had an estimate for a new playground climber structure. And we got a lower quote, so, that's at $75,000 estimated cost.
Versus,
I'm not sure what it was before.
oh, it's 95,000.
So he's dropped it down to 75. Okay, and then moving on to Landrum High School, again, there's a line for scoreboard upgrades at Landrum High School for $12,500. Also, I believe this is an added line for weight room upgrades at Chapman High School for $10,000, and this is just a continuing response to Landrum High School's weight room.
That was to get them some updated, not to the point, because Landrum had kind of updated some of theirs on their own with their booster club. So this was to help support the school and a couple more things that they needed with the weight room. But it's not an overall, because they've done a wonderful job there, updating that as they've gone along through the years.
Okay, and then under Mabry Middle School, per Mr. Skinner's request, we've got an estimate in there to renovate the gym restrooms, and we have an estimated cost of $10,000. Also, under Mabry Middle School, there's an estimate of $50,000 for renovation of the 500 building to better suit student needs. And that is to help with the growing number of orchestra students.
Yeah, the teachers are running out of room. What a great problem, and that's to help knock out some non-load-bearing walls. See all this stuff I'm learning? Billy's laughing at me with his engineering background. He knows my social studies degree doesn't cover all that, but what a wonderful problem to have with seeking more space for orchestra.
And then under New Prospect Elementary, per Mr. Vanderford's request, we have set aside about $5,000 to work on the auxiliary dining area for some painting and design there.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask, back up just a step? You mentioned renovation of the gym restrooms at Mabry. Does anyone remember the last time they were renovated?
Gene, that's a great question, because when I was in there this year, if you made me guess, we looking at what, Coach, 50, 60 years? It's been, the urinals are they're very, very, what's a nice way to say?
Antiquated.
Antiquated. Thank you. I'm trying to be nice, but they could use some updating.
But is the restroom is limited in service to that point to where?
Well, I mean, we can
I'm
keep.
not questioning, I just think,
It's just really,
for our guests.
it's really,
To know what shape it's in.
yeah, it's in tough shape.
Mhm.
Okay. And then that is all for the updates, but I'll just give you the new grand total on this sheet. Comes to $5,574,195. Yes, sir. It is you got it? You good? Okay.
And it wasn't a lot of changes. Jason just wants to be faithful to the capital plan, because what we don't want to do is come back and, if something, he's trying to lay the groundwork for the entire year as we work towards getting our 3, 5, and 7 and 10 year plan. So that's why he made those additions. Just trying to keep you all in the loop of what we're doing in an operations standpoint. And again, all that will come out of a capital budget, not the operations budget.
And that relates back to the facility study?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Absolutely. Good point.
All right, so now for the budget update. Okay, so I sent this a second reading, it was in your board packet, and so I'm just gonna briefly go through the changes from the first reading to the second reading. And so this second reading was based on discussion and feedback from the board work session. And so what this second reading does include, it does include a 7 mil increase. And what that 7 mil increase is, one of those mills will go to teacher equalization. And so the district will only see revenue from 6 mills, okay? Also included in this, in the in the second reading, we were able to incorporate our proposed new salary schedules for all staff, not all non-teaching staff. And that was something that we felt was significantly needed. Dr. Beeson did a salary study in comparison with several other districts, and so we have tried to get ourselves more in line with other districts because we've talked about in history, we haven't been very diligent in giving our non-teaching staff percent increases along with the teachers. So we were able to incorporate those new salary schedules, and in addition, Mr. Holden charged us with trying to squeeze in the weapons detection system and with some other shifts in reallocating funding, we were able to incorporate the weapons detection system in there. A couple other things that I would like to note, that our state funding did go down about $200,000. That is from the House versus the Senate. The House had allocated $230 million to to education, and then Senate Finance put it back at $200 million. And so right now the House did not agree with Senate Finance, so they are kind of in conference committee. So we actually won't find out until mid-June if we will get any of that money back. And I believe that is basically all of the changes from first to second reading. Do y'all have any questions before we keep going?
I'd like to jump in. Go ahead, Barbara.
Ms. Brady, I would like to say regarding the non-certified staff that me coming from my background, I was support staff. And it's not just last year that's passed, they've been passed over for several years. Mm-hmm. And I just think that, the board and the public needs to understand that the support staff is the foundation of a school district, in my opinion. Now, that's my opinion, because they're what keeps the district going. Sure. And the teachers are definitely, but we're handling the teachers pretty well. Mm-hmm. And so I think we've got to step up, to the plate and do what we can for our support staff. Right. Because inflation's eating them up too. Absolutely.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. I think Barbara looked at my notes. Did you look at my notes? Yep. Well, I just want to thank you for bringing that up, Barbara. I appreciate it. Because what I was going to say, we are a team in District 1, and we are a family, and we're all working together to serve the children. And inflation is real. It's real. Go to the grocery store. Go to Zaxby's, my favorite hangout. They have added my picture there because I go by so much. That's a joke, April, but I do go by there a lot. I love me some Zaxby's. But you look at Food Line, you look at Duke Power that we've seen with our own district utility bill. Inflation's real, and the school district we have no other capacity to raise revenue, because with Act 388 back in 2006, they took that, and I understand that, and I'm all for the taxpayer. But years ago, when we could depend on our tax base in District 1, we were fine. The state said they were going to make that up to us. Well, how'd that work out for us? Not too good, as Mark Rollins told us at the work session last time. Go ahead.
I'm thinking that could be that $1.8 billion they found.
So you think they
Maybe
found
they
it?
didn't actually.
Yeah, that would be nice. I wish we could see some of that back. But we, as Barbara was saying, we've not been able to give our support staff percentage raises but 3 times out of the last 7 years. And that's they do so much work for our school system. My only goal this year with our teacher forum was for our school finances was prioritizing giving our support staff a percentage increase. And our teacher forum unanimously voted to support that. Because think back to last year. They wanted us to help with subs. So what'd the board do? Y'all funded Kelly Services for them. They wanted help with discipline. So what'd y'all do? Y'all funded behavior support. And look how those 2 measures turned out. Raving reviews from our staff. So the teacher forum supporting this initiative to make sure everybody gets taken care of warms my soul, because it is a family. It is a team, and we've got to take care of everybody. So this year when I started, We've had, there's two priorities for me. The first one came about when we got the school safety grant from the state of South Carolina. Was about $540,000, a state safety grant, okay? And the second I saw that, I sent that, Officer Harmon told me about it, I said, let's go for it, because we knew we wanted to add a layer of protection to our high schools. So school safety and weapons detection system at the high schools from that state grant, that was one of the priorities. And the other equally important, because I can't separate those two. They're both equally important, because one's talking about safety for our kids and our staff. The other's talking about taking care of our people. In a way, that's both safety, because our people are struggling because, as I said, 3 out of 7 years we've not been able to cover them. So the other priority was to have a 4 to 10% pay raise to all support staff. Now, teachers and guidance counselors and media specialists have been taken care of by the state, and thank God. I'm grateful for that. But the state has given us $0 to take care of everybody else. And, you know, it takes more than teachers and guidance counselors and librarians to run a school district. It takes the team. So I wanted to correct our salary schedules for these folks, because it's gotten out of whack with the rest of the county for us not being able to give routine percentage increases over the last 7 years. So most of the other districts in the county have been able to keep up with the pay raises. We have not been able to. But before I asked the school board for a millage increase, I wanted to do everything I could on my team's part. Where can we look for resources that we can reallocate? Because I am not a taxer. I am a very conservative fiscal person, but I've also been tasked to run this district, and I'm going to do it as good as I can for as long as I can for the betterment first of the children, and I'll never back away from that, and then second, the staff. And it's a close second, because you cannot educate children without a supportive staff, and that's teachers, support staff, that's everybody. We are a team, okay? So as any good leader should, I looked up here first. I looked at the district office first, and I'm not bragging about this, but I can tell you in a year and 3 months, I think that's how long I've been here. Love it up here. Always like to reiterate that, because I do. My family, we love it. It is a blessing. But as any good leader should, I look up here at the district office, and I've gone from 7 assistant superintendents to when Dr. Mathis retires, unfortunately this year, and you can still stay, Steph, if you want to, because we'd love to keep you as the deputy superintendent. But as you know, she's going to retire and working retired as a speech pathologist next year in special services. You cannot find them anywhere, so we're very blessed to have Stephanie do that. But so when Stephanie retires, in a year and 3 months, I've gone from 7 assistant superintendents to 3, and I don't say that to brag. I just say that if tough decisions have to be made, I have to look up here first, because we are not directly in front of children. So that's where I started with that. And we've also looked throughout the district, and I've had some tough conversations with people out in the district, because we've have to reallocate some positions to where we need people that to get a better use of our resources with what we have. So we've reallocated 18 different positions. I dare to think where we'd be in this budget if we wouldn't reallocated 18 spots, because we're still having to add teachers, because we have growth. We still have growth at certain schools and in certain populations. So these reallocations went to add teachers and growing populations. We're not getting rid of teachers. That'll be the last thing I ever recommend is to get rid of a teacher. So what we've done, though, is reallocate different positions: guidance counselors, assistant principals, district office staff. There's been various positions, like maybe where we could collapse a teaching spot at a high school, where in a department maybe we could absorb a teaching position. And we were able to do that at the high schools in a couple positions to where class numbers look good. So we could not replace that person. So in doing that, we were able to reallocate those to add multiple teachers in our growing populations in our school district, and we added another school psychologist to the budget. As I told you, we only have 3. 3 for 5,300 kids is not enough. So that's when our surveys come back. The teachers are still frustrated that the children aren't getting tested in a timely manner. Well, 3 people can only go so far. So that's why we have been able to locate, and it is also like finding a unicorn, just like a speech pathologist. You find a school psychologist in these days and times, you better get them. And we've been able to find one and hire, I believe it's an intern that we're hiring from the internship to that. So, so very excited about that. But as we continue to see this need through our staff survey, so what I want y'all to know is I've looked, and our team, we've spent hours upon hours looking for how to reallocate resources so we only have to ask for what we need. And I'm never going to come to you and ask for more than I need, because I know it doesn't work like that. We got to think about taxpayers. And I would like to reiterate, this is not on primary homes because of Act 388. So the $7 million proposed increase would not be on most of the people in our district. However, when you say that, I don't take joy in taxing a business or somebody that owns 2 homes. I don't take any joy in that. But that's the reality of this proposal, is that 95% of folks won't see it. And the folks that do are your business owners that I do have a heart for. I have a heart for small business owners, but this is where we are. Duke Power can raise your rates because of inflation. Food Line can raise your bill because of inflation. Well, what does a school district do to take care of their people? And this is how we've landed this. So as Ms. Brady stated in her correspondence with you all, we understood the board's direction from our budget work session, and we feel like we've done our due diligence in presenting you the most fiscally responsible budget based on student safety and meeting the needs of our students. Lacey, what'd I miss?
Covered it. Any more questions? That's going to be everybody with, except for teachers. Everybody. That's going to be your grounds, your operations, your clerical, your secretaries, your bookkeepers,
Nurses.
Custodians, teacher assistants, CDFs, behavior support, principals, assistants, principals, administration.
Big group.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So at this time, just based on that, what administration is recommending this budget that does include a $7 million increase. And so what we are asking for tonight is not a formal vote. We will do that in June as a third reading, but we are asking for a vote from the board in order to move forward with the second reading as presented in your packet. And this second reading allows the district to proceed with proper notification to our stakeholders regarding the public hearing scheduled for June 10th, as well as the publication of the actual budget.
So of course changes can be made.
Sure.
This is not an official vote by any stretch, but we do need some direction as we have to post it. I believe it's 10 business days out. So we just
By the
need
end of
direction
May.
so Lacey can know what direction to go into.
By the end of May, I'll have to,
Yeah, turn her microphone on.
Okay, how's that?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to be clear what percentage of the increase the staff will receive under the 7 mil.
so it is actually, it's an actual range. So we have folks receiving anywhere from 4 to 10% on average. And it just depends on what scale you fall on.
Okay.
You know, some of our secretaries and our secretaries and our teacher assistants and our bookkeepers, they are on the upper range of that, around 10%. And then I think grounds and operations is around 9%.
Wanda, that's a great question. Lacey tried to address the ones who were the furthest behind according to the rest of the county. So the higher percentages are for those that were the furthest behind.
Absolutely.
And admin assistants and bookkeepers and TAs were at the top of that list.
Chairman and Ms. Brady, what happens if this doesn't pass? What happens to our support staff? What could happen?
Well, so then as it stands, with the changes from the state revenues and so on and so forth, Without this, then you're looking at, some decisions have to be made. In other words.
We will develop
Yeah, we'd
another
have to develop-
plan.
Yeah, we have to develop another plan, I guess is the best way to put it.
And most likely, we would be losing staff, going, searching other places maybe. It's hard to find workers.
We are trying to compete, we are, and, but I will always work, I mean, we're never gonna give up. And we will always make the best of what we're given. And we will always move forward. I will never be a part of moving back, because in the board, in their wisdom, if they decide that this is not appropriate this time, I will respect that. And then the team we're always gonna press forward. We'll never go backwards.
Well, what's happening with your support staff is, excuse me, what's happening with the support staff is the same thing that's happening with teachers. It's gotten competitive with our neighboring districts, and so we're losing, and a lot of training goes into support staff, more than you would realize. And, you know, they're working towards their retirement, they're working towards, you know, we give them additional training, and we don't want to lose them after we've invested all this time in them. I mean, they're good people, they're our people, and we want to keep them.
Very well said. You know, I've said before that if you want excellence in the classroom, you've got to have excellence in your support staff. And we've got a lot of people in this district working hard to strive for that excellence. And I just feel very appreciative of it. But we have to show them that appreciation.
I have another question.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same group that did not receive an increase last year.
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
Okay.
And it's 4 out of the last 7 years, they've not received it. It's the same group.
Yes.
Most recently last year. Okay.
Ms. Brady, so when you say that all other staff got a step increase last year, what does that translate to? Because you're saying they didn't get anything.
1.5%.
1.5%.
Can you just do me a favor and repeat what it is exactly that you're asking of us today?
Sure.
Because you mentioned a word that I thought was important. You said to present or publicize or something along those lines. Could you just repeat that for us?
Yes, ma'am. What we are asking for tonight is a vote on how to move forward, whether to move forward with the recommendation of the second reading in order to allow us to proceed with proper notification to our stakeholders, so that we can get that notification out there into the paper for the public hearing on what our plans are, so that our stakeholders can come and give their public input on June 10th, as well as publication of the budget to the stakeholders as well. So what that means is after today, or if we vote on this recommendation, then this would go on the website.
And that public notice has to go out when?
I believe I have to have it in 10 days. I'm thinking by the end of May, I have to have it to the paper in order to.
It's 10 business
10
days.
business days. So, or right at the beginning, but you know, you have to count it because you can't count weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Once you put it out there to the public, can it still be changed? If we wanted to make changes to it?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not sure how that. This is a first time that we've ever come and asked for a millage increase. So I would say that what would end up happen. I think whatever we present to the public, if that doesn't pass, then we will have to have another public hearing so that the public knows what will be passed and approved by the board.
But Coach, in between now and that posting, which will be late May, any changes could be made.
Sure.
But now once we put it out there, we're gonna have to go with that, and that'll have to be voted yay or nay.
Well, I understood you to say we could make changes.
Between now and when Lacey post it 10 days out. But now once she posts it publicly, we have to go with that. But absolutely, between now and then, yes, but that'd be roughly that last week of May.
Correct.
Ms. McDowell had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I did. I just want Lacey to explain just for clarity for myself one more time. The staff received a step of that 1.5%, but not the additional increase that the teachers received. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Yes, well, do you?
Last year, did everybody
Right.
receive a step?
Sure, yes. So last year, everybody received a step, which is the equivalent of a 1.5% increase. Teachers received a step, I believe average 4% or.
It was 4 or 5%.
Yes.
But
4 or 5%.
again, that was state funded.
Sure. And the same thing is happening this year. The teachers will receive a step plus average 4%.
So what we're talking about for staff is the additional increase from the step.
No, ma'am, not necessarily. So this is redoing our schedules altogether. So you will have some folks
Altogether,
altogether. So in lieu of a 1.5% increase, the people will receive. I believe the lowest is 4.5%, all the way up to 10 or more.
But this will keep us from having to play catch up every year.
Correct.
Because right now we're playing catch up, and if we can get back to even, if you will, then we could probably keep up like the other districts are doing. We've just let ourselves, and I'm not judging. I mean, we did what we had to do. I mean, to survive. And
Have an increased millage to carry your budget.
correct.
So, doing nothing this year, we fall further behind.
That is correct. We'd be further behind.
Lacey, you know, at one time, whatever teachers, now this has been several years ago, when teachers received, when we got the new salary schedule and they were, you knew what they were gonna get. They would get their step, that base salary would change, and then they would get their step, everybody else would get their step, and then you might give 2 or 3% above that. And so your support staff, it was just understood, they would get, it was across the board. Now what's happening is the teachers' salaries are moving faster than what the support staff are. So probably we're not gonna be able to keep them even per se with percentage. We're gonna have to look at them individually. Do you
That's,
think?
that's
agree.
fair.
That's what I
I
think.
think
Absolutely.
that's
That's
a
a
fair
fair point.
assessment, Barbara.
That's
Yeah.
what I think.
Yes, absolutely. This was just kind of step one in the
Yeah,
big.
this is just a step getting us closer.
So this is, in my, well, I know it's not unique to water, but when I think about this, I'm thinking it's a market adjustment.
Yes.
We're normalizing for changes that have occurred over the market the past several years.
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we're having to do that at home as well. And we're not the only school district that's going through this. But we, you know, we're not on 85 like District 5 and District 6 and, you know, it is what it is. But our students are just as valuable as any other district, as well as our staff and our taxpayers. And it's a tough decision. It's a tough position. But students first, and families and taxpayers, teachers.
In 22 and 23, it looks like everybody got a 3% salary increase plus a step. You feel like it's necessary to go to 4% in option 3 to keep up?
4% probably, the 4% would not target your secretaries, your teacher assistants, your bookkeepers, your operations. The lower scales, the 4% would not be enough to keep up.
But if you went with 3% instead of 4% and then adjusted to the ones that was so far behind, would that work? Or you still think they need a 4% plus a step for everybody?
Repeat your question. I'm sorry.
Just singling out, just say somebody in the staff,
Sure.
that you're gonna give 4%.
Right.
Instead of giving 4% to everybody, give 3% to everybody plus a step. And then adjust the bookkeepers or secretaries, whoever, above that to catch up with the rest of the people in the county.
We could do that. I will say, though, that when Dr. Beeson did her salary study, it wasn't just those schedules that were behind, it was all the schedules that were behind. So, I mean, we will most certainly operate under the bounds of what you approve. It's an option. I don't have what that cost looks like as it relates to certain groups versus other. But if, you know, that was the direction or the wishes of the direction of the board, then we most certainly could look at that.
So I have a question. So the state mandated is not all certified. It's teachers, because you mentioned assistant principals and everything in this other staff.
So assistant principals and principals are not considered certified staff.
Okay.
They are certified,
they
but
are
not,
certified,
the
right.
state
Correct.
doesn't recognize it.
Right.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
the state only recognizes folk who have a teaching position.
Mr. Skinner is saying, instead of 4 for certified, go with 3, and that other percent apply to helping bring the
Sure.
non-certified staff up even closer. Isn't that what he's saying?
I-
Teachers. Well,
Yeah, the teacher salaries are mandated by the state. So the teacher salaries are what they are. So the state gives us a state minimum salary scale. And then, since we have the teacher equalization and the county equalization, all Spartanburg County school districts, all Spartanburg County CFOs and the superintendents, they meet and we talk about what we feel is appropriate in regards to give an increase to the state, because the state does say that if you are already paying above the state scale, then you don't have to give an increase. However, our county equalization, you know, in the past, we've always paid 13% above the state, and we are no longer paying 13% above. So what we try to do is we do try to talk about what we feel like, especially the lower districts, you know, District 1, District 3, and District 4 are receiving districts, and District 5, District 6, and District 7, they're giving districts. So they lose money in that county equalization. So the teacher's salary schedule is actually set by the state and is in with the bounds of the teacher and county equalization. And so we can't take any percent, you know, of those salaries away to give to non-teaching staff.
And that's one of the reasons that the districts came together and created the teacher equalization, correct? That
Correct.
1 meal per year? Okay.
Correct. So, you know, used to it was a county equalization with a 13%.
Right.
And then, and so since the state is targeting the early teachers, you know, teachers that are just entering the profession, the teacher equalization targets the seasoned teachers. And so the goal with teacher equalization is to start to increase the step increases for the more seasoned teachers on that scale.
But what it's creating is, and we have to fight against this, is a system of the haves and have-nots in education. And that's what we don't want. We're a team and we've got to work together. And that's why we were trying to do something for everybody. That way we don't have various groups pitted against each other of, oh, I got this, you didn't, or whatever. Not saying they would handle it like that, but everybody, you know, money matters. Money matters. And it just, we're just asking for this support to get it square so that moving forward, we won't have to take as drastic measures. Because I think moving forward, we'll be okay once we get settled. We're just, we are behind right now.
So the salary study, and if this is something that is approved, that would bring us on par with the rest of Spartanburg County school districts, but how far off of Greenville County are we?
No, we didn't
Oh,
even.
for
I don't
teachers,
believe
Debbie?
For other, no, for other.
Oh. Yeah,
I don't-
we're behind with teachers. I don't know about the rest of
But
it.
it's our pleasing personality that keeps everybody here, right? Instead of going to Greenville.
Well, we
That
try
and 85.
That
really
and
hard.
85, yeah.
And our folks, you know, they're not, our folks have handled this so professionally. But we just want to take care of them. And I know y'all do too, and I know it's just a tough decision. I respect that. It is a tough decision. But all I can assure you is I feel like I can look all y'all in the eye and tell you I have reallocated as much as I can. Because, you know, if I wanted to be selfish, I'd take care of myself first, make sure I had plenty of help. But that's not how we're going to do it. We're going to make sure that help is out in the schools. And that's where the money's got to go, to the school classrooms and the teachers and the staff. And that's what I'm proposing. We can't predict the future, but I would like to say next year, if we could get square this year, I mean, barring no state craziness, I would like to say that we'd be looking at just trying to hopefully add the one meal for the teacher equalization. Because I don't want to come back and I'm not coming back every year and doing this. I'm just going to tell you, Lacey, now for now, I'm not doing it. We're going to have to figure it out. But if we can get our people to where we're competitive with the county, then, you know, as we keep committed to this teacher equalization, which we have to do that. There's no way we can survive in the county without the equalization, because we don't want to be pitted against the other 6 districts when it comes to teacher recruitment if our salary schedule is not the same. So I know the board is committed to that. But I feel like if we take this step this year, it would be my desire to ask for very little next year. But again, I know you can't predict the future, but that'd be my wish and my charge to Miss Brady.
One other question. So does this include, please forgive me for being so detailed, but does this include a Christmas bonus?
I'm glad you brought that up. I failed to mention that that is one thing that we had to take back out. And we had to take that back out due to the loss in state funding. And now I will say this, while it's not included here, you know, there is a possibility that we will gain back some of the $200,000 that we lost from the state. And on top of that, you know, we just don't, I'll just be quite honest, I'm not, you know, I'm very conservative as far, you know, as it relates to what this millage increase will bring in. You know, we did get some additional information from the auditor's office. You know, I've gone back and I've looked at that. I don't propose changing any of my local revenues because I actually feel like I've actually got those a tad bit higher based on, you know, actual collection data than what's on the assessment sheet. But I say all that to say, you know, we can always reevaluate where we are, because I'll know by the end of June if we're going to gain any revenue back, and we can always amend the budget to, you know, appropriate that additional revenue to include this Christmas bonus.
And I'll just speak for and I'm glad you brought that up, Dave, because it's a great point. I'll speak for the staff without even polling them. If we polled them right now and said, do you want a 4 to 9 or 4 to 10% raise, or do you want $100 at Christmas? I'm going to tell you right now, it'll be the only unanimous vote ever amongst staff. So if that's something we can no longer do, then if we get the salary schedules right, our folks aren't going to beat us up for that. Because although it's appreciative and it's nice, but nobody's counting on that $100 to fund Christmas.
But I do appreciate you bringing that up, because Christmas will be here, and I'm sure other districts are planning to.
And, you know, again, you know, where we can always look to see where we land as far as, you know, what we add to fund balance. You know, I should be able to give some projections on that in June when we come to our board meeting. And then, you know, if it's, I know we hate to do that. I don't like it. You hear me preach all the time. Do not, you always attach reoccurring revenue to reoccurring expenses. But, you know, like we've done in the past couple years, we could always take it, you know, out of fund balance, and then try again next year.
Well, Lacey, one thing we can look forward to, because I really believe that we're going to keep adding, we're going to keep growing for the next couple of years.
Sure.
If you just ride around our district, you're going to get that growth, so you're going to be bringing in some.
Sure.
You know, so, I mean, I feel pretty comfortable with collections. That's just my personal opinion.
Did I understand you to say that you took it out, the Christmas
I did
bonus?
take the Christmas bonus out.
Is that money going to be used toward this
The salary.
increase?
Yes, sir.
I just want to say this, I think this all started because of Dr. Smith trying to be transparent about the rolling back the taxes. Had we done like a lot of the other districts, we wouldn't be discussing this, I don't think.
Yeah,
Am I right?
and I appreciate you, Coach, bringing that up. We, last school year, when y'all were in this room in June, we voted not to have a millage increase. And so we did not. And we were rolled back 22 mills. And then the auditor rolled back 3 more to get back teacher equalization. That wasn't told to us. That was done. And then we had a 2 mil miscalculation for a grand total of 27. So we rolled back this school year, 27. So there's actually a tax decrease in District 1 this year.
Let me share something real quick. What he's saying is when he rolled it back, it wasn't maybe the best move for the district, like Mr. Holden said. But for you out in the audience, I just got my car taxes on a Lincoln, and they were $150 less than what they were last year. So it affected cars and 6% property. So everybody got is getting a tax break this year, whether you realize it or not. So all we're doing is adding back 7 mills out of 27.
Yeah. Well, I just, like I said that night, I feel like I didn't have that authority to do an unmandated tax increase, and that's why I signed that form with that. And this why we're doing this in open session, to ask for 7 mills to help fund what we need. But no, thank you. That's exactly right.
But we were the only district in the county that rolled them back.
Well, I don't want to get into what other districts are doing. I do. I know there was a lot of talk out there and various things, but I just can speak for us. I know what we did, and I know that I feel. I mean, I've always told you I'm gonna do what's right in the best of my ability. That doesn't mean I can't learn and can't be coached, and I certainly don't know it all. But I just didn't feel like I had that authority. We get that form on a Monday night, gotta have it signed by Thursday. And as Mark said in that work session, he had a great idea. To next time we do a rollback, we will have, if I'm praying I'm still here, but we will have a special call meeting and let the board weigh in on that. Because I understand everybody's points of view. There's just a couple of different schools of thought on it. I'm not blaming people, and I'm not accusing anybody else of doing anything any out of way. I'm just telling you, as far as I understand it, had I signed that form and got mills back, I would have been raising millage and raising taxes. But I know there's a different school of thought on that, but I'm the one that has to deal with it and sleep at night with it. So that was the decision I made. But I can guarantee you, this year we cut taxes in District 1. And Barbara's right. We're trying to get, asking for the 7. Really, we were down 5, and we're asking for 7. So really, it's a 2 ask, not a 7 ask. But that's so far in the weeds. I understand the community's not going to understand that because it's a lot to understand. But I think what people can understand is inflation. People understand inflation, and I think people understand that they can look at various positions in the district that we don't have anymore, that we're trying to make this work so that we protect that classroom.
So reassessment is really what is gonna raise the taxes, right? I mean, I know us.
Well, it set us back to
really
revenue
the mills
neutral.
is-
Well, it set us back to revenue neutral, and there was 3 mills added by the auditor for teacher equalization. Now, we signed up for that, but now y'all thought at the time that you could write a check out of fund balance. Well, that was for a year, and then the auditor changed that. Now, I didn't get a memo about that. That just happened, okay? And then we had the 2 mill miscalculation on the form, so that was 5 of them right there. So I can unequivocally say 5 of those mills, yes, we're getting back. And the 2 additional, Coach, would be to help fund because all this coming out of our general operating budget. And that's what we're trying to recoup that so we can fund these percentage increases and salary schedule fixes for the staff.
Mr. Skinner, to answer your question, yes, reassessment was what caused your taxes to go up, not millage.
Ms. Brady, on the teacher, I know we had a several-year plan on the teacher equalization, and the first couple of years were 2 mills, and we're at 1 mill now. How much longer is that, do we have to, is there another mill next year, and how, can you refresh my memory?
Yes, I think it's 10 years.
And it's a mill every year.
Until
The
we
first
get
2
to
years
10
were 2
years.
mills. Okay.
It was
until we
2
get
the first year, Debbie, and then a meal every year after that, and I think it goes up to 10.
And I don't know if, so I know that we were trying to keep our salaries higher. As the state keeps raising the salary, is there a point at which Spartanburg County says, okay, it is an equalization? I don't want to take anything away from our teachers for sure, but at some point we are out of money to.
No, you make a very valid point. I will say that I think there's some decisions that's going to have to be made regarding talking exactly what you're talking about.
The governor
Yeah,
said he's going to get to $50,000 for a starting teacher. That's what the governor has promised. That's what we're seeing, okay? So the districts in the Spartanburg County have always been 13% above. We're not that anymore. We're about 7 or 8%. So this is getting us back to the pack, which is not a good thing, okay? That's going to make it harder because Greenville County is a beast. They are hard to compete with. And we know we're not going to match their finances, but we have to be in the realm. And then that's where you combat with we're going to give you the friendliest daggum service. We are going to meet your needs. It ain't all about money, and teachers are not primarily money driven, and staff are not primarily money driven. There ain't a one that would have signed up for this profession to get rich. Can I get an amen, Gene? They're not a one, okay? So we don't have to give everything in the world, but we have to stay competitive. Because if we stay competitive, then that District 1 touch goes a long way because we got the best kids in the world. Ain't nobody, y'all must not be Baptist, nobody amening. We've got the best kids and the best families in the world. Yeah, thank you, Gene. You're just going to have to get a little louder on that amen. Because I really...
Amen.
It is just a very special place. Jody and Amber with their presentation tonight, the district's strong. We're just trying, and I know it's not easy, and I understand. I respect your wishes, however this thing rolls out. But I really feel like if we can make this happen, we can be in a position to be competitive and not be asking for multiple meals every year. Because it's not my desire to have a millage increase ever. But sometimes I have to put my realistic hat on, and I have to make tough decisions. I've had tough conversations with staff members the last 2 weeks, but I've not sent one person. The easiest thing for me to do was send Dr. Beeson and have her deliver bad news. But I did not do that, did I, Trish? I delivered all the tough news myself. Because if I'm going to deliver somebody news about their job, it's going to come from the person that made the decision. And you won't get that in Greenville County. I can tell you that right now. Not that every decision I make is perfect, but I will do my best to make a tough decision and do it with kindness and compassion. And you know, it's tough to move people, but we've moved some people for next year based off our resources and based off our student populations. So tough decisions have been made. If we can get on board with this 7 mil increase, I think we can move forward. We'll move forward either way. We will move forward either way, but I think we can be well on our way to cooking with grease and continuing to thrive in this district and having everybody on the same page and everybody on the staff. There'll be a lot of excitement in the district if this goes through because there's people that need it and they're not going to come ask for it. But I'm just telling you, they need it.
Just one point of clarification on the teacher equalization, the 1 mil, while that is our contribution, the way that reallocation formula is written, we're actually a winner because we get back more than
Absolutely.
what we're contributing. So while it feels like a give, we're really getting more back.
Y'all had to vote on this when the county, the other districts presented it. Well, the richer districts, I appreciate them very much.
I'll give an amen on that one. Thank you. Thank you, giving districts.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on the taxes. The businesses will be taxed, the 6% people
Yes,
will
sir.
be taxed. The people that just own one home, their house won't go up.
They
The only
will
way-
not.
The only way it affects them is cars, boats, motorcycles, pontoons, something like that.
You got it, Coach. That is 100% correct. What you just said is correct. Primary homeowners will not be impacted because of Act 388 back in 2006, okay? And it's important to know all that history, okay? And Mark filled us in last time about how, you know, the state promised us this money, and it showed up for what, Mark, 2 years? And we get a tier 2, 3 reimbursement every year, but it's nowhere close to what we would have been collecting. So it will not affect your primary homeowner. It will affect your 6% crowd, but I don't do that. I mean, that's easy for me to say. I don't own 2 homes and I don't own a business. So I don't flippantly just say, oh, it's just going to affect business. Oh, no, business owners matter. They're the backbone of our community. So I don't take that lightly. And I think that's why this discussion is great. Y'all are a very well-educated board that asks great questions, and none of this should be easy. So I do appreciate the thought. But I know we ran those numbers, Coach, and I think we gave those to y'all in your packet of, I think if you were looking at a $400,000 property as a business, I think you'd be, what, $200? What was it?
Yeah, we have
It's
to.
$168 for 7 meals,
$168. So that's about,
if I figured it right.
we're going to go with your figuring.
Steve, remember that in a reassessment year, there's several things that's gonna affect a taxpayer. First thing, like on our homes, the market value's gonna go up. And, you know, that's what we want, really. We want our property to be worth more. But when we're taxed on it, we don't want that advertised per se, you know. But then the other thing is when the levy comes in and you got your school operating, your debt service, it may not be school taxes that went up. It could be your fire, your water, your sewer. There's other things out there that affect it, because like my sister, for example, I had to explain to her and show her what went up in her area, and it cost her $1.26, and she was like, why did this go up when it was a reassessment year? And I'm like, $1.26, really? But it was due to the fire district, what they did in her area. So it's not always the schools. And that's what you got to really break it down sometimes to explain it to, you know, a taxpayer.
Dr. Smith, could you flesh out a little bit more about when you said you had tough conversations with people? Can you just we're not losing teachers, we're not firing teachers?
No way.
Okay.
I moved some, like, let's say if we had multiple guidance counselors at a school where we might only needed 2, that if we had a third one, then that counselor position was reassigned to somewhere where we had an opening, so as not to add an FTE. That was an FTE of savings, and I've done that administratively, such as with Dr. Mathis's position. We took that FTE, and that was the workload that she does like a Trojan horse, okay? We divided that out amongst staff to make sure that job gets done. So I don't think our services are going to be affected in any way. We've just tried to do it in a more creative, innovative way to not ask the taxpayer for more than we had to have. That's just what I have to keep going back to. This is what we need to make it work. You know, Mark Holden did a great job of challenging us at the work session to find a way with the weapons detection. And, you know, that night I thought we were going to have to do a 10 mil increase. But with the team, and I have a great team, big shout out to all the D1 team in here, great, brilliant minds. And we were able to figure out a different way, we had a couple different positions we could reallocate those resources that we didn't have to replace. But in no way have we eliminated classroom teachers. The only thing I would say is at the high school level, in a science department, a social studies department, if we had somebody retire or resign to go to another position, we looked at our class numbers. So if the class numbers could support not putting that FTE back in the budget, we took it out. So I guess somebody could say that took a teacher spot, but not that negatively impacted a child. But your K through 8, not with your regular teachers. I know we didn't do that because see, like, we didn't just cut 18 spots because I think we added 16 or 17 because we had.
Yeah, we added 16 and a half positions, and we also absorbed 4 positions from ESSER. And so, and then those 18 positions that he's talking about that we cut, the majority of those were all of them were reallocated in some form or fashion into helping
But it's
teaching.
pretty much a wash
Yes,
with
it
what
is.
we were able to reallocate. But imagine where we'd be if we hadn't have done that. Now, y'all didn't task me to do that. I could have just said, hey, where's 20 meals or whatever. But we looked at when I say every position, and how can we best use the taxpayers' money to solve the equation to best serve the children. Because I can tell you all, the children will not suffer with this budget we've proposed to y'all. With anybody we've reallocated, there's a plan for the children and everything will be fine. I wouldn't offer out something if it was going to impact the classroom. So the classroom is strong and well and will thrive next year under the changes or proposed changes we've made.
Under the 7-meal plan, you said that would cover the weapon detection help that we need to man those.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And Jeff will talk about that in a minute, Coach, but that'll be just for the high schools and that'll be just for the operational day. That's what we were able to get that down to by the time we were able to get the contract for the security guards, if y'all approve it, and the stipends to help the staff come run them, because it's gonna take, I think we figured out 3 teams at each school in the mornings to run those effectively. But again, the equipment was paid for by the state, will be paid for by the state grant.
Quick review of the overview of what this updated system's gonna offer our students.
Jeff is in just a minute when we get through. We got it's okay. We got one more agenda item after Lacey, but yes, sir, he will.
Okay, so at this time, we are asking the board, we're recommending that, administration is recommending that we move forward with the 7-mil increase that is included in the second reading of your packet. And again, this allows us to move forward with the budget process. It's not a formal vote in regard to that third reading that's coming up in June. It just gives us direction so that we can notify the stakeholders appropriately.
So just to clarify, this does not obligate us to raising taxes.
Correct.
Thank you. Make a motion then that we say that this is our second reading.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Baker, for the motion. Thank you, Mr. Cothran, for the second. And before I ask for discussion, I'd just like to apologize to Mrs. McDowell. I flew right past you on those other votes. We're raising our hands. I was sure she did, but I just wanted to make sure there was no opposition there.
She'd speak up. Is she still there, Billy? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. thank you for your time this evening, and we appreciate you, and this will be a voice vote. But is there any further discussion? If not, then all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. Any opposition? Same, say aye. No opposition? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Brady, for the work you've done and for the information that you've given us. I was really excited over the second reading you sent out. Had so much information that I don't recall seeing that much in the past. And our next item would be the school security update. Mr. Harmon? Or I'm sorry, Officer Harmon.
I answer to all things. All right, so I know you guys have already seen this in our session that we had, so I've done some abbreviation to it, but also some addition to it as well. So the folks behind me, there may be some newer things for them to see. But anytime we talk about school safety, we always talk about these three things: prevention, response, and recovery. That's in everything. That's not just active shooter. My role is more than just active shooter. It's fire, it's working with health, it's working with transportation, it's working with all those areas. But these three words are always part of everything that I try to do in presentations. If the presentation I'm making does not point to one of these three, then you need to question what I'm offering for the students. So here's some highlights just since this year. I won't even go into my first year. This is the second year. So we did implement the Stop It 24-hour reporting system. We have implemented that with this school year to start, and we had 1,352 downloads for our district. So we have how many students? 5,300. So if you went with that, you can kind of get some breakdown the percentage of students that have downloaded it, but I will not say that it's a one-to-one, because some students have put it on their Chromebook, some students have put it on their phones as well. This is creating that climate, this culture of, if I see something that's bad, I'm going to report it. And we've had everything from suicidal ideations to cutting to health issues, all just running the gambit of safety. Bullying, cyberbullying, we've seen it all. And that's what we want. We want to create that environment and that culture, because as I mentioned this before when I sold this originally, because remember, Stop It costs nothing because we are part of the School Board Association. So it was a free app for us. We just had to do the work and the groundwork to get that thing rolling. But what I sold this to you was that this is part of the Secret Service recommendation of having a safe school and safe school district. So we've implemented this. I think it's went fairly well. We've had some juvenile takes on it as expected. I mean, we're working with young people, and sometimes young people do silly things, but we've had some populations at some schools that have really owned this, and they've owned it like very mature students, and I just see that improving as the year goes by. But that is a great highlight for the school year. Of course, we are still increasing the number of AED units and bleed control devices. Periweather stations are at every school. That is great for us to get that immediate notification. It's also an external PA system, so we've got external PA systems at all the schools too. We've just got to learn how to use them, expertly. Bus and emergency radio system. I got to make sure I get woven that together for us. It's bus communication, but it's also going to be a district-wide radio channel that we're going to be able to use for those emergencies, and that is currently being installed. Myself and Mr. Martin, we went to the water tower today and watched our guy climb up there with all his equipment. So we are hoping to have that thing up and running before the school year's up.
Big thank you to SJWD.
Yeah, thank you to
on that one.
SJWD. So that's great that that's Here, we're gonna be working during the summer, testing out range and testing out, you know, how that's gonna work and set up all the channels that we need. And that's gonna be great for the school buses. You know, you don't have to, you know, call a cell phone number and they've got to pull over, find a good spot, answer the phone to find out what's going on. If you've got emergency, you just come right over that ready and you say it. And so it is a great tool. It's gonna help us out. It's gonna prevent some things, but it's also gonna help us in that recovery as well. And of course, you can see in there too, you may not know a lot about this one, but all schools had a formalized safety assessment for the school year. And that's formalized. That's going through with a checklist of items that have been noted by those folks that do the targeted prevention of school violence, safety assessments. I actually took this from Charleston School District, implemented it here for all our schools, all 10 schools got this safety assessment. They had some issues they had to work on. Principals saw it. They were appreciative of it. They got it. They started working on it immediately to fix some of their things. It was great. I think next year we'll even step up, add a few more things to it that myself and Dr. Smith and Mr. McCraw's talked about too. We've already begun live bus feeds, and we'll expand it next school year. So that is a great thing. So instantly, when there's something going on, you know, that principal can dial in for that school bus next year, see that behavior, document it, and then when they arrive on campus, they can do that justice that's needed. And of course, this school year, the $552,000 safety grant from the state under Proviso 1.81. So that is a great major achievement because of what it's going to do for us. So just as a layer to make sure people understand what all we're doing when we're talking about safety, safety when it comes to school shooting incidences, it is a safety net. I will say that. Some school districts have a ton of procedures, methods, operations, technology that they put in place to create their safety net. Some school districts do a lot, very tight safety nets. Some schools don't do as much because of financial restraints, so their safety net isn't near as tight. You can look at some of those inner city schools that you see across the country. They have very tight safety nets, and we're talking metal detectors, we're talking all kind of cage and wiring, all kind of stuff. It looks like something. Their buildings are designed differently too. So you can see that throughout the country as you're going through these. But for us, our safety net includes these. And this is just so the folks at home that are listening to this and our folks behind me see how it all works together. So we do have a threat assessment that we actively use, and we have put that into place on numerous occasions, as late as last week. Behavioral matrix, which Dr. Smith's already talked about. The staff wanted it. They created a newer one, a better one, and they got great reviews for it. SROs at all schools. We do strive to make sure we have an SRO at every school every day. And if that includes this attire plus a vest, I'll fill in that gap too. And I've done that numerous times, and that is always our goal. And that is all three chiefs' goal as well, is that we will have an SRO in every school, which is another part of our layers. The mental health counseling that's available, that is super important. When Stop It says this person's going through some issues, we can instantly get that person referred to the guidance counselors. The guidance counselors then connect with our counselors here at the district office. That is a great layer because, as you know, our students are dealing with a lot of mental health issues. And we do have a lot of those mental health issues reported on Stop It as well. So that's been a good connection. And our mental health counselors here, they're connected to Stop It too. They have administrative rights. They can go in, they can go behind me because I'm the chief administrator and see, was that handled? Did I get that referral on them to ensure that it's done that way? They have those layers of accountability to make sure that's happening. And of course, we have external door locks and controlled access, which is great. Not all school districts have that. Some school districts, you walk right in and see the front desk person. You don't have to unlock a door or ring a doorbell or anything. You walk right in. That maybe works for them, but it doesn't work for us. But what is missing in our net that can make us even tighter and more safe is the weapon detection system. My only thought is, will that be the only no that is the part that leaks through and we have an incident? I hope it's not. So, of course, the recommendation is, and Dr. Smith brought this, was weapon detection systems. As soon as, he gives me credit for seeing it, but he saw it first because it went up to superintendents. But we worked together to complete this document and to make sure that we submitted everything that we thought we needed for school safety. I submitted $2.3 million in school safety related items. We only received $552,000. But we're gonna
We'll
spend it
take
the
that
best.
$552,000 though.
We'll take it. And guess what? When it comes open next year, we're going to apply again. And we'll keep applying every year.
It is in the state budget again from the governor and all the House and Senate for 20 million. So we will be able to apply because Jeff has other ideas to further add more layers in the school setting.
Tightening the net. So if you have not ever seen what the system that we are moving towards or wanting to move toward looks like, that's what it looks like. It does not look like a prison. I've been to several prisons in my former career. That is not what I went through after taking off shoes and belts and all that kind of stuff. This is a minimally invasive kind of system. Yes, you can make it look like a spirit stick for your school with a little bit of additional cost. This is what it looks like when students go through it. These are students in Austin. They're used to it. No big deal. You can see their middle school expression as they go through it. Right?
They do not have to divest their keys or their cell phone. So it's very important. They're not getting shut down, okay? So they're able to walk through it, and if the alarm's on them, then you know they'll go to a resolution station where it'll be tastefully done. So it's just not, I just want y'all to know, it's not going to negatively impact our culture, our climate, our schools. It's not like the old school metal detectors where you got to divest everything. It's very user-friendly.
Yes, it is not, don't say per se, metal detection. It is weapon detection. It is set up for those high-density metals that are used in weapons. And I love this, the reason why I love this photo here, because it shows the student who says, oh, I forgot. I've got that Chromebook in there that's going to set it off. So he stops knowing that they learn over time. And over time, the students get to where they know what's going to set it off. They know this Chromebook is going to be in here. It's going to go off. I got to give it to the person that's standing to the side. So it's a great photo to see actually what it looks like without watching a video. And no one wants to watch a 2 or 3 minute video at 9:35 at night. And just so you know, because it's always good to sell this point, even though you don't really have to sell it, to make sure you understand where school shootings happen. And of course, you can see 68.6% suburban, 25% rural. So you can add those figures up, math coach, quickly. She's like, no, I'm not doing math, she's done. But as you can tell, it's almost 94%. Most of those school shootings are suburban and rural. And you may say, what does that look like? And you board members remember what this picture looks like. These are great outdoorsy photos. This could be here. We've talked about what these are for those of you in the crowd who hasn't seen these. From top left, that could be a scene somewhere close to the mountains, but that is actually Columbine. Bottom left, it could be the Green River, don't know, but it's not. It's Uvalde, Texas. Center, is that downtown Landrum? Well, I can't tell. Maybe Emmett, who knows? No, that's Perry, Iowa, right? Top right, that could be a house on Newcut Road on my way to go see Chapman in the mornings, right? It's not. That's Newtown, Connecticut. And of course, the bottom right is Landrum. No, it's not Landrum. It's Green Hill, Tennessee. That's the Nashville school shooting. So when you see these images, it counters all this thought about what school shootings look like. It looks like us. It does look like us. So we need to make sure we understand that it is us, and we need this layer so that we can say that we have done everything that we know that we can do to secure that safety for our kids. And especially if the state's paying for the equipment. And I haven't gotten to what the equipment costs. You'll be amazed at that. So where do these school shootings happen? Of course, this is why we're targeting the high schools first. 84% is high schools, 84%. So you want the most bang for your buck, you target the high schools. And of course, the next phase is then possibly go to the middle schools. We'll see how this pans out. And of course, that's 15%. But you just need to be reminded of where these school shootings are occurring. So of course, totally funded equipment from the state of South Carolina, the grant. This is the most recent quote as of 6:10 p.m. today, $430,119.32. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a district with our economic means to purchase a system like this at no cost to us. If we had to purchase this system, it would be a huge dent in our capital funds. It would be. All that, needing to replace carpets and bettering classrooms, that would not happen if we have to fund this ourselves. So this is a huge opportunity for us. And like we said, there are some costs to cover to man the units because the units are not You know, they're not AI, they don't man themselves. You have to have the human there to welcome and reassure folks that are walking through it and make sure that, you know, they understand how to get through it quickly, safely. So we do have some costs for that, and that cost is the third-party vendor for the safety company. The safety company's only responsibility is to run the units. That's it. Their job is not to intermingle, to do other things in the school. They're not to, hey, I'm going to clean up this spill. Now, if they take and they're going to take ownership of that and there's a break in a law, they can do that. We've had some great reports from other districts that said some of their security personnel are actually their support staff of the year because they are such part of the community. And that's what our prayer is, that when we go on board with a great company that wins this bid, that's the kind of personnel we're going to get. And I've even heard some rumblings that some retired folks that used to be in law enforcement are like, oh, I'd like to take that job. And I said, well, whoever wins that, we'll make sure they get your name. So it could even be people that we've known for years that wind up running these units. So that is my prayer. So phase one it is for the high schools for the 24-25 school year. I don't know when these units will be available because there is a 4-week turnover time. But of course, I'm not going to purchase any of these things until the budget is finalized by you guys to make sure that those funds to run them is going to be there. So there may be a little bit of a delay there. And then, of course, phase two eventually, we hope it'll be the middle schools because of that small percentage of middle school shooters. And remember, close to home, the closest middle school shooting we've had recently was Tanglewood. And, of course, if you read the news, Tanglewood, a couple years ago, they had the shooting. They had a gun on campus this past year. So these things, you think, well, it happens once in a lifetime. They don't. They don't always. Without that layer, then the door's open. And you may say, well, I thought Greenville had weapons detection systems. They do. But they put them in a van and they do random. And that's what we don't want. We want to put these in our high schools. We want to put them in the entrances where we know we have students entering so it can be screened properly. And when they come through it, they feel confident that no one has a weapon on school grounds. And that's what we want. We want students to come into our classrooms, be confident that they're in the safest location they can be in for that day, and they can truly concentrate solely on learning. And that's why they're passing the cell phone policy as well. The state has acknowledged that too. Kids feel like they're being cyberbullied while they're on campus. They don't feel safe. They're going to try to eliminate that. Well, we're trying to eliminate what? Another safety element. So that's why we have that in here. This is just a brief overview of what we're trying to do with a weapon detection system. We don't want to get into the full details of it because that is our game plan. That's be like giving my game plan out to the opposing team. So, but I'd be happy to entertain any questions you have.
As part of that you didn't want to talk, maybe not disclose at this point, we discussed this last time about who would walk through it, and there was some discussion about staff walking through. And I do know that I heard on the news that the gun at Tanglewood was a faculty member.
It was. Right now, our plan is anybody who goes through an assigned gate that has an open gate detection system, anyone who goes through those doors is going to be screened. Now, staff have at multiple locations their staff appointed entrances, but if you decide you're going to go through that one, anybody is going to go through that one. They're going to be screened. So if you're on a tour and you have your blue ID on and you go through the front door, Mr. Security person is going to say, please walk through. Good to see you today. Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, and you're going to go through that gate as well. Because we're going to have those staunches set up to where you can't walk around them. We don't want people to walk around them. We want to be very strategic in how we do it, and we want to be, you know, as inclusive as we can to everybody that comes in the building. Now, we do have some vendors that are going to be having, you know, other keys and other side doors where they, you know, do services for us. They're going to be excluded because they're going to be having gear on and those kind of things. So.
We can't do it all at one time.
No.
It's the first step.
Yes, first step. Yes, sir.
First step. But I will tell you this, if you're looking back at your notes and you're like, wow, that number seemed to have grown, we did consider a few more units to have for backup. Those additional units that we'd have could be for emergency deployments. So if we get a stop it app at 10 o'clock at night and it's a school that's not covered, I'll go out there in the middle of the night, I'll set it up, and we'll have that school covered for
But
that.
Gene, we're using the state funding to purchase them for all.
All of them.
Yes, to use that money. So yeah, so not to implement yet, but to purchase, so that we don't lose that grant.
Right, I just meant to purchase the 2 per school for the high schools. We can't do every entrance and, you know.
Yes, sir.
That's what I was referring to.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Jeff, did I understand you? Okay, there's gonna be more available money, so you're gonna write grants every year. Can you write, supposedly there'll be more available money. So you're gonna write grants possibly for more weapon detection systems? Can you write for the same thing, or does it have to be something different?
No,
You know what I'm asking you?
Yep, yes, yes, ma'am. My plan would not be to do weapon detection for the second year because we have to submit a plan to the state about how we're
Right.
gonna use the funds that they gave us. We did a temporary plan that says this is how we want to spend it, and then it's gonna be, what is our plan for expenditures? Show me your quote, and then they're gonna say yes or no. And
Okay.
then they're gonna know based on when they get that, and then the next one's set to come out in September,
Mm-hmm.
what we spend on. So my goal would be to upgrade a lot more of our door access systems.
Gotcha.
That would
Just
be-
got a lot of ideas on that we
Okay.
don't want to reveal right now, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of ideas, but the problem is with some of this technology, and you gotta be very careful with this, and I wanna make sure that the board hears this. There is great technology out there, but the problem is a lot of this technology has reoccurring costs and license fees.
Right.
It's great, the technology's awesome, we can get grant money to pay for it, and these people wanna help us write it, but then you got a $50,000 or $60,000 license fee for 10 schools
Right.
for every year. So we've
Right.
got to make sure, and one of the things I've talked to Lacey about is, when we see one of these opportunities, to come back before you guys and let you guys know, this is a huge opportunity, this is maybe another $500,000, but it requires that money that goes along with it
Gotcha.
for reassurance. And if you guys say, we don't have the climate for it, then we back up and punt and find something that doesn't have reoccurring costs. And that's what we're doing with some of our door access, is going to systems that don't have that reoccurring cost, because budgets are tight. We got to be very careful with the operating funds. And I want to be a good steward of that money as well.
Thank you, Officer Harm. And that's the end of our business. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion, we adjourn?
Have a motion, Ms. Baker, a second, or a motion from...
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Banford. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. McDowell. Thank you again for being with us tonight.